We are on our A game tonight. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are y'all doing? Woo! All right. So, we're going to get all the stuff out of the way. We'll start with all the regular shit in the regular order. I am Kai. I am talking. You are hearing me. If it's not so, then let me know. If I'm too loud, let me know. If I'm too low, then let me know. And now we're going to move over to Arson, who is going to talk. It's all good all the time, brother. Just smoke some weed when we go to a commercial. All right. Roy, say hello to the beautiful fucking people.
Isn't he the best boss ever?
All right. I need more than 3 words out of you, though, Roy.
Testing 1, 2, 3. It says Arson is muted.
Arson is muted again.
Yep. Okay, I'm unmuted now.
He says he's unmuted.
Okay.
So maybe, just maybe, we'll get lucky and people will actually hear me.
All right.
Okay, now go to Roy. Roy says some stuff.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. Glad to see everyone in the chat. And got an exciting show here.
All right. Arson's fine now. Roy seems to be good so far. Tweet, say hello to the beautiful people.
Happy Friday night, everybody. Don't mind us ironing out a little few wrinkles out here.
Yeah. And special guest, MATTIUS. Say hello, MATTIUS.
Hello, my name is MATTIUS. You probably already watched my videos on YouTube, my fucking incoherent rants, etc. So, yeah.
Right on. All right, so now this is for the next, 30 seconds of this delay or whatever. Everybody give me how are the sounds? Was anybody low? Is everybody okay? I'm going to start working on intros to people. So we got the very first up tonight. First was Ken Kenneth. Hello, Ken. Big salute to you. Commander Single Malt Scotty with the 07. Happy Friday. Thank God it's Elite Week.
Yeah.
We got SP4H 07 Commanders. 07 to you, sir. We've got Nolan Sester 07. Hello. We got Space Hero. Where have I heard that guy's name? Did he make a video that people have been playing everywhere all week long? Is that? I think I know that guy. Yeah. We got Tweaked. Tweaked's cheating. He's tweeting from inside the cast. We got Roy Cookson doing the same thing. We got Wintermute. Hello, sir. We got Biotic Keen. Hey. We got Hawkenforge. Good evening from Commander Farcastle 73. Well, hello, Commander Farcastle 73. We got the Played Unicorn 07 Commanders. We got Nolan. We got Ryan Whalen. Kumbawa Yoshida Yurina desu. Oh, Kumbawa Ryan Whalen desu. Genki desu yo. We got Van Otter with the big salute. We got Project Wolf Dragon. Wolf Dragon versus that's my Sergeant at Arms in the fucking Black Sky Legion. That dude gets it done. We got another Friday night, another Elite Week. TM, absolutely. Pete SB, hello to you. Josh Burke, hello. I just went to Colonia tonight. 3 hours in the neutron stars. There you go. Shinkansen. Right on. Totemo kawaii desu ne. All right. Got all 4 engineers unlocked. Anaconda for the win. That's legit shit. All right. If we got a lot of stuff to get to tonight, so if everybody's saying that the sound is okay, which I'm not seeing anyone saying that it's not, then we'll call those intros done. And everybody get ready. We're about to play the intro song, and then we'll start the actual podcast, the edited version, where we're not so much talking to chat, but we're just doing the do and getting the shit done like we know how to do. So, all right. Arson, mute the mics and get this party started. Hello and welcome to Elite Week, episode 34, Friday, August 28th, 2020, Galactic Water Cooler. How are you doing? Oh, what a day. Man. All right, let's get to this. Now, first off, I'm your host, Kai Zen, and just to make it official, let's get that started right. With me tonight, we've got Arson Cross on the tech. Hello, English. I can do it. Arson, say hello to the beautiful people.
Hello.
That wasn't a I'm cracking this one with the boys. That was a I need this to keep going.
You are damn right.
All right. And you heard his laughter already. Say hello to Roy.
Hello, everyone. Glad you could all join us. Got a great show.
Yeah, I think Roy's taking it easy tonight. He went a little heavy last week, and by the end of the show, he needed help just staying upright. All right. And of course, we have the incomparable Tweet. Say hello to the people, Tweet.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Made it to another weekend. Yay, here we go.
Hell yes. And I think you guys might know our special guest tonight. I think a few of you might have heard about him, here. Say hello to everybody, MATTIUS.
Hello, everybody. I'm completely insane. Don't listen to anything I say on any type of social media platform. Yeah, that's me.
I don't know. I thought your Trump 2020 speech was reasonable and measured.
Oh, yeah. Politics.
Oh. Yeah. Everybody, we're gonna have a good dose of tin foil out tonight for your hats, because MATTIUS, my man MATTIUS, goes deep on the theories, and I dig it. I love it. You know we love it here. So, all right, here we go. Whew. So to start off, our cover art tonight seems legit. I named it that. This is from unknown source. Like, I've seen so many of these go around. I know ToCoSo had one, but I've seen like 3 other people posting stuff and whatnot. So I just love the idea of, flying a nice little chieftain over a ice planet with seeing those AT-ATs walking by. That shit is legit. All right. And for the podcast intro, what have we got to talk about today? Well, Galnet Watch is continuing. The last post was the Vitadine Nanomeds on June 9th, 3305, which was 70 days ago today. Oh, soon, hopefully, ? Hopefully. All right, Roy, why don't you hit the full intro stuff for the podcast?
Yeah, sure. So if you're listening to us on the podcast and would like to see the live show and visuals, you can check us out at youtube.com/Elite Week. If you're watching us on YouTube and you'd like to know how to catch our podcast, check out anchor.fm/Elite Week. For sending us your thoughts by email, you can reach us at eliteweek3306@gmail.com. Our very active and growing Elite Week Discord can be found at tinyurl.com/Elite Week Discord, where you can check out community feedback, resources on turning the wheel, and real-time updates about Elite from a variety of content creators. In addition to the Discord community feedback channel, feel free to write in our YouTube comments anything about the topic of the week, as well as anything else you'd like to share. We'd love to hear from you. Also on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe and click on the bell. It really helps us out. We record live on YouTube every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, midnight UTC, so come and join in on the fun. If you're listening to us on the podcast, please make sure to rate and review us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform you use, and let us know if there's a format you want us to look into. We don't do Patreon, so save your money and just tell your friends about the show.
Absolutely. And I'm going to add one last thing. If you do give us a rating on one of those spots, please do me a favor and email us a pic or notice of it, or post it on the Discord, because Oh boy, we can't find them. We don't see them. We only see, like, I'll see if it's in the United States on iTunes, but we don't see all the other stuff. So please do that for our sanity. All right, let's get to this. Starting off right away with our guest, MATTIUS. MATTIUS, tell the good people a little bit about yourself. Obviously, everybody knows about you, but just tell us a little bit about yourself. Your YouTube channel is youtube.com/MATTIUS, MATTIUS. I know it has that little /C in the thing there, but you can leave that out. So it is just, you could just put /MATTIUS. Your content with regard to sort of conspiracy theories and lore. I mean, it's not conspiracy theories per se, in that it's all based in lore. You're talking about, okay, this happens, but then it wanders into that sort of territory, are, I think, some of the finest in the game. And this game has amazing conspiracies or mysteries, let's say, to probe into. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started and what makes you tick and what kind of videos, excite you?
Well, it all actually started off with I've been playing Elite Dangerous now for about 3 years. I started off on Xbox, ditched it for a bit, went elsewhere, then bought it on PC, and then just fell in love with the game all over again. Particularly the exploration aspect of the game. And then I started reading about the other stuff in the game. So, for instance, Roxlar, the Dark Wheel, etc. And I typed it into YouTube to look for it, and then I come across Guru's videos, and wow, just Guru's videos just opened my eyes on the whole thing about it. Whether it's true or not, it's interesting to say the least. So I went on a massive binge through Guru's videos, and then I thought it's something I wanted to do. I mean, I was at a particularly difficult period of my life at that point, so I needed something to focus on that was artistic. And then I started doing short videos on First Fargoid War, doing the different sites, etc. And then I covered the Hawkins Gap, covered Conflux, etc. Yeah, Formidine Rift, and I got mentioned on Obsidian Ant, and I was massively stoked about that. And I kind of took a little bit of a break in between there, so I was unsure whether I wanted to carry on with it or up until now and the update, because I didn't really know what to cover. And then I just thought, fuck it, might as well just cover Roxlar and the Dark Wheel, and started doing massive amounts of research towards it, etc. And yeah, I went from there, and my videos speak for themselves.
Yeah, the 3-part series that you did on the Conflux, the Formidine Rift, and what was the third one? The
Formidine Rift.
Yeah, Formidine Rift, the Conflux, and the
Hawkins.
Yes, those 3. I hold those 3 pieces up, and I challenge anyone: watch those 3 videos, and you tell me a single content creator who is making better stuff on the sort of in-depth esoteric lore of this game. Though, I mean, I like all of your videos, don't get me wrong, and we're going to even talk about your new one here in just a moment, but those 3 to me are like the way a lot of people talk about The Godfather 2, or they'll talk about Citizen Kane or whatever, where it's like, this shit is just next level. This is just, I think if I were to take a dozen videos that I tell people, this is all you can ever see of Elite Dangerous, and I have to sell you on the idea, those 3 videos would be in that dozen, all 3 of them. Fucking top notch, sir. So hats off. Salute.
All I can actually say in response to that is I'm humbled. I mean, I'm not the best editor in the world. I've not got the best computer in the world. And I don't know the best techniques because I've not been doing it for years. I've literally been doing it for about 6 months. But I'm just glad that people enjoy my content in general. I'm glad that I'm involved in this sort of thing that is Elite. You muted Kai.
Oh my God.
How many times have I listened to a podcast and you've done that?
Yeah.
So for
All
those
right.
of you following along with Elite Week Bingo, that is
Take a shot. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, as I was saying, with regard to your newest video, Elite Dangerous Theories, Jacques Station and the Signal, right? There's a lot of interesting stuff in that obviously link is going to be in the show notes for those to check as soon as we're done here. Go check that video out because it is legit. There's a lot of interesting things about that whole story with Jacques. There's the whole part about, he built a station, a whole well, I mean, he bought a station, but then he retrofitted it with all kinds of stuff. And whereas our fleet carriers get 500 light years to a jump, and the capital ships for the Alliance and the Federation and the Empire, they get their jump range. Jacques jumped 22,000 light years. 21.8 thousand light years in one jump, and he was looking to go further. He was looking to go to Beagle Point. Like, that's sort of ridiculous that nobody really sort of talks about that it's like, hey man, this guy had a station that jumped 50 times farther than we can sort of cobble together with the best tech how to do it. And this is a bartender who was basically got a station that's his sort of Winnebago, and he took it out there and did some crazy shit. Also, there's the part about him going on a secret mission out in the black before he did that big Colonia jump, and like, where did he go? What did he encounter? What did he find that gave him the ability to do that, right? And lastly, the oddness of the signal itself, which you show off in that video, that is like super, super, super. I don't know. I think it's super, super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the Jack Station's always been an interest of mine since I've been watching videos on Elite Dangerous all the way back from when I was playing on the Xbox. Mm-hmm. So again, Obsidian, I covered the events, etc., and the fact that his station went missing and then it reappeared and then it jumped to Colonia. And the one thing over the past couple of months that I've been researching topics for different videos has been the jump range itself. So I thought, well, why is his jump range so ridiculously long in comparison to other things like the 500 light year? Is it 500 light year jump range for a fleet carrier?
Yep.
Yeah. So the 500 light year jump range for carriers. I just thought it was a little bit strange, but yeah, some people will say it's plot holes, but it can be explained in other ways, and it's kind of what my videos explore in that way. It's about how they can actually explain those gaps and how they can incorporate that into a storyline. Because the whole thing about storyline within a game is it builds a universe that's larger than just the game itself. So if you've got other stuff that's going on that's beyond the game, so for instance literature or other elements, it makes the game bigger. So I've always wanted to make the game bigger, and this is one of those elements that I wanted to explore. So I'm just glad you like the video itself.
Absolutely, brother. So everybody check out the video. It will be in the show notes. As soon as we're done here, go check it out and check out his other works as well. Basically, start down the list and just keep going, and you're going to hopefully leave with, I don't think your videos give answers so much as they highlight things that people didn't know about and they give them questions. And I think that's an awesome thing where you're arming them with some facts that then sends commanders out into the universe to explore and to try to come up with theories or answers or what have you for things. And I think that.
Yeah. Again, that's I'll be honest. That's something I've kind of stolen from Guru, because Guru, his style was always asking questions for players to go and explore, etc. To go out there and explore the lore of the galaxy, or to go and explore the mysticism that is within your mind. One of the things that I really like about horror things, horror films, is when a horror film is really in your face and it's really gratuitously violent or it's really gratuitously obvious, you can see everything, etc., it's not very good. But if you have a horror film, for instance, Rosemary's Baby, and you don't actually see a lot of that within the film, it leads your imagination to be much wilder than what the film could ever portray. So I kind of want people to go out there and explore these things. And I get messages. I got a couple today saying, "Oh, well, I've got to go and travel to Colonia now and go and investigate this." But that's kind of the purpose. I want people to go out there and explore it, because again, going back on other things that I've seen in the past, people have always said Elite Dangerous doesn't have any lore. It's not that type of game, or Elite what lore, etc. But I've always seen the lore in the game, and I've always enjoyed the lore. So I wanted to explore that, and I wanted other people to explore that as well. So
absolutely, Elite Dangerous is. There's a lot of people that say, "Oh, Elite Dangerous is 1,000,000 miles wide and an inch deep," and it's like, no, it's not. It is an inch deep in places. There are some places where it is an inch deep, but if you know where to look, it's plenty deep. There's a ton of story. There's a ton of lore. You just have to find it, because unlike World of Warcraft, this game doesn't hold your hand and take you to it. There's not it's not a situation of you fly into a station and there's a dude with a huge, exclamation point over his head, and then you click on him and he gives you the start of the thing, and then later on when you're finished you get the question mark. Or maybe I did those backwards. I haven't played WoW in a couple of years, but it's not like that. It's more like a true mystery where there might be some just little throwaway line reference to something that if you're paying close attention and catch the reference, it means the whole world to you. But if you're not, you're going to miss it. So yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. So Mattius, give us a little sneak peek. Give us a little hint. Tell us what's next. What are thoughts are rolling around in your brain? What's going to be the next video we should be on the lookout for?
Well, I've been exploring the idea of doing live streams. I'm going to continue to do lore videos. So for the next couple of weeks, or at least the next month or so, I'm going to post out one of the 3 lore videos on the major factions. So I'm going to explore the Empire, the Alliance, the Federation, do a big breakdown of the history of one of those factions, and then just move on from there. But in terms of the live stream itself, what I want to explore is something I've actually uncovered for the past couple of weeks. And I don't want to be one of those that sort of says, "Oh, well, I found something out and you better tune in next week to find it out." But it's just, I can't really talk about it right now, but it's just something I want to explore in connection with signals, in connection with possible Roxlar lead and Shinra Tedesra.
Beautiful. Well, I mean, you gave enough people enough of a tease that they have an idea of the general ballpark of what you're talking about, and now they get to come and see and explore it with you and see how it plays out. That's awesome. All right. Well, Mattius, strap in with us as we go on our weekly tour, guided by alcohol and the ramblings of a madman, myself, through the galaxy. All right. So let's check it out. So for starters here, we've got the Dark Wheel update. All right, so where is the Dark Wheel at? Well, guys, we said probably on the 27th, the Dark Wheel was going to finally expand out of Anyanwu. We've been sitting there waiting for. Guess what? It expanded on the 27th, right on schedule. So that was like, yay, because we were hoping that it wasn't like going to go till the 28th or 29th. As soon as it popped, I moved the Black Sky Legion over to HR 4979, and I told them, "Hey, we're in the 60s on the influence. You've got two choices. We can take our time and we can get it up to 75 over the next 3 days or so. If you want to, that's completely fine. That's on schedule, because we'll be there right as the cooldown is wearing off on the expansion into 5455. So that'll be completely fine." But I told them also, if you want to go ham, you do it sooner. We can go into 5455, get into that war, mix it up. kick some people in the teeth and say, "What up? We're here to break shit." And guess what? On the very first day, the very first tick, they got us over 75%. So I have unleashed the hounds, and they are moving in like locusts to 5455, and they're going to be wrecking shit. So look forward to that. In 5455, we are in a war, to move in. It's one of those invasion wars, and it's the cool thing about it is we are poised. We're in a war right now with the Wolf 1481 resistance. I've had my guys getting shit in order and getting ready to crash this system systematically. And that is exactly what we're going to do right here. We're going to make sure that we set it up such that we blow by everybody that are sort of lined up close to each other, and we jump right up to the influence of GQ Virginis General Corporation, which is in charge of the system. Then they have half the influence in the whole system. We're going to, in a week, we're going to get ourselves to the point of initiating a war for control of this system. And we're going to sweep that war in 4 days. And within a week after that, we will be getting, so 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from today's show, I'm going to be telling you guys that we're ready to expand out of 5455. And this expansion, this one, will be the one that we are aiming for our target system to test the soul theory. So this is very, very exciting times. I am very much looking forward to seeing how fast we can systematically take this, because the Legion is put together and they are working like a fine oiled machine. So that is awesome. Out of 4979, we're in the process of shaping the jump. That jump is going towards the Lave system. So far, all I can say is every last thing everything that we put our mind to, we accomplish. So I am so damn proud of the Legion is getting it done. The General Army, all of you people out there that are spinning the wheel, are doing amazing work. The Rabbit Hamster Assault Force, they are doing fantastic work in shaping our jumps. Like, just every last thing is going at high speed. So I'm going to open it up to Arson. You have any thoughts with regard to the Dark Wheel?
The impending proximity to Soul is very exciting. Beyond
Right
that,
on.
I don't have anything else to say other than the fleet carrier ops have a shiny new system for everybody to enjoy.
Yes, they do, and they've been doing amazing stuff. I think you guys emptied out like 3 fleet carriers yesterday. That's legit.
We did.
Right on, Roy.
Your
Your thoughts?
Oh, I would just say it's a real pleasure and honor to be a part of something that's working so well. It's lots of fun missions, and glad to see it's progressing as planned.
Right on. Tweaked, hit us up.
It's beautiful when a plan comes together like this. Everything is going smoothly and wonderfully well, and very excited to get to one of the major first test points of this whole project.
And Mattius, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this whole Dark Wheel project. What do you think about all this silliness we're getting up to?
I think the overall objectives initially was at LFT 9. I can't remember the numbers, but the LFT 90 whatever system.
509.
509. That's it. That was the wrong target, but overall, what you're doing, it's very, very, very notable. And there's been very few organisations for the past year that has actually done something with the game. And I just want to thank you and all the other guys that have actually done something with it and got people keep playing the game, which is really important for me. I'd just like to thank you.
Awesome, man. Yeah, we're having fun with it. I'll talk to you later about 509 and why you think that's the wrong target, and see if you got any info for us, or we'll go back and forth, and one of us is going to surprise the other, I think. All right. So moving it on to real world science, we're going to start off with what the math. There's some new surprising discoveries from CERES. Basically, they're showing off the Okator crater. It's a name that has, I don't know why it has that name, but the Okator, OCCATER crater is, so CERES is the largest asteroid in the belt, but unlike Vesta, which is just slightly smaller, CERES is spherical. And as a result of it being icy as opposed to rocky, it has that nice sphere to it. And it's interesting. So CERES is technically, it's the closest dwarf planet to Earth. It's the closest planet with a large amount of water. CERES has, in fact, a subsurface ocean. Underneath the layer of rock, there is what you would call an ocean, or I guess technically it would actually be a lake that is surrounding a rocky core. And you see right there in that crater, the Okator crater, which has a funny name now that I keep saying it, there's that weird, what they call I think it's called a facule, which is a weird name, but it's basically, you're getting bits of salt there that is coming off of the water, the briny, brackish water that is sort of evaporating off, and that salt is what is leading them to believe that, and other things with the composition is what's leading them to say that, okay, there's this amount of this composition of water underneath the surface of CERES, which basically, long story short, we will eventually get Beltalotas out there to harvest Te Aqua. Oddly, CERES, this is a weird thing for Elite Dangerous commanders. CERES is not included in the Sol system, which that's a mystery I'd like my buddy MATTIUS to look into, because, like, what the hell, man? David Braben is a huge fan of astronomy, is a huge fan of all of the sort of technical realism with regard to our solar system, but just the largest dwarf planet. And I mean, this is huge. CERES is a big deal in not just sort of, the expanse. CERES is like, literally, that's where we get the word cereal from. It's because the god of the grain was CERES, and it's interesting. So yeah, and I just want to clarify, I'm not talking about Sirius, I'm talking about CERES, CERES, which is a dwarf planet in our solar system. What's that?
Yeah, in the asteroid belt. Basically, it's quite interesting in terms of the solar system itself and the old conspiracy theories that have dated back since the 60s and 70s. I've grew up with a lot of this stuff. My mum used to date some guy he was a Mason. He used to tell me all kinds of stuff, like the planet was colonized by aliens, etc. I'm not saying I do or I don't believe that stuff. I'm just saying it's there, and it's always been in my past. So I've always explored this stuff as a fact of curiosity rather than more than anything else. But CERES and Mars as well. Mars used to be something different. So, like you said before, with the What the Math video, I watch a lot of What the Math. I think he's a really, really, Anton Petrov, he's a really good YouTuber. And he was explaining on one of his videos before that possibly Mars might have not been a water world, or at least an Earth-like world, as people have thought. It was an ice world. But I think there's a lot of turmoil gone on in the solar system in the past, and CERES in particular, that was an amalgamation of objects that was possibly there from another object, which goes into the big rabbit hole that is Nibiru and all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go into that. But CERES, until recently, there was a light on CERES, and it was quite strange. And I just thought it was quite strange that there was a light on CERES, and whatever that was probably was something else, which was quite explainable. If you translate that into Elite Dangerous and the ancient aliens and try and incorporate that into a storyline within Elite Dangerous, then you could quite easily do that, because the Guardians are millions of years old. The Fargoids are millions of years more old. There's strange artifacts on Mars. They could incorporate more storylines into that and more things about the pyramid, but I don't know what the copyright deal is with Robert Holstock's material, or whether they've even got that or not. I really don't know. It's just incoherent ramblings, so I do apologize.
No, it's interesting stuff. I can tell you've read some Zachariah Sitchin when you start throwing around Nibiru.
Sorry to the gods, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Arson, what do you think about this interesting video about Ceres?
I think it's super interesting. I kind of want to latch onto something that you said when we started the segment, though, Kai. And Ceres is not in the game, and this is a mild theory, but I just wonder, because we supposedly had 70,000 generation ships manufactured and sent out in Elite's lore. I wonder if that's where Ceres went, or
If they took all of Aqua.
yeah, or it could be Raxla and maybe hopping around.
I'm going to have to throttle you later. All right. We're going to skip right past that thought and move right on to Roy. Roy, what do you think?
I'm glad to see there's yet another body in the solar system with a subsurface, whether it's a lake or an ocean. This one's closer. It's exciting that we got a helicopter headed to Mars, but I'm holding out for, when are we getting the first submersible drone that can go to one of these subsurface oceans? I think that's where we're going to see some real cool stuff.
I think the one on Ceres is sort of smaller in nature and around the rock. If you want to talk about a subsurface a SSRV, let's get on your rope, my friend, because that's where the shit's going to get interesting. All right, Tweaked, what do you think about this Ceres video?
It's just amazing how much, it's like every day there's a great new video coming out about something we've learned in the outer reaches of space, or what would have been the outer reaches of space not too many years ago. And I think you're right. All roads lead back to the expanse. We're headed that way.
All right. So moving on to the next video, we've got Insane Curiosity, another fantastic content creator, put out a video about the Kardashev scale. How far can our civilization go? Now, if you look on the screen right there, there's the three sort of images. It's an image of what a Kardashev Type 1 civilization might look like, a Kardashev Type 2 civilization, and a Kardashev Type 3 civilization. So, what are we talking about when we say a Kardashev Type 1, 2, and 3? Because I've mentioned it a few times in the last couple of weeks with regard to other things, and I felt like I really wanted to sort of come back and clarify that for people that might be going, what the hell is this guy always talking about? So Kardashev was a physicist, and he had a theory with regard to how you classify different civilizations. And this was with regard to how you would sort of look for other civilizations out there, SETI type stuff. And the idea was that a Kardashev Type 1 civilization is measured by the fact that the civilization has the ability to collect all of the energy coming to or from its planetary body. So to be clear, Earth right now is what scientists call, originally it was classified as a Type 0 Kardashev civilization, but now scientists have classified us as being, I think we're like a 0.75, a 0.75. And the reason why we're not a Kardashev Type 1 civilization yet is because a Kardashev Type 1 civilization would have the ability to capture all of the light coming in from the sun, i.e. solar panels and whatnot, would capture all of the wind energy, all of the hydro energy, all of the thermal vent energy that's coming into sunlight and out of, wind, tides, and thermal vents planet. So once we become a Kardashev Type 1 civilization, and I think they're saying that we're predicted to become a Kardashev Type 1 civilization sort of within the next 100 years or so, we will have all of that ability. And basically, the reason why we're not a Kardashev Type 1 yet is because we're basically scavenging for dinosaur, like fossilized dinosaur blood, oil. We're pulling oil and coal from the ground. All of these things are basically what happens when plants and animal carcasses get smushed underground for thousands and or millions of years. You end up with oil and coal and shit like that. So in the near future, the next 100 years or so, when we fully are able to, we have clean fission energy, fusion energy. Fusion is the one the one that's better long term, but that we haven't quite cracked yet. We can do fusion. We can do it right now. We are in fact doing it right now. Scientists are doing fusion, but it's what they classify as inefficient fusion. It takes so much energy to do that it's almost it's kind of not worth it. But we're doing it because we're trying to get better at it so that we can move to the point of, doing it to where it's way cheaper to do it and we get a lot out of it. So that would be a type 1 civilization in the next 100 years or so. A type 2 civilization can capture all of the energy emanating from its system's star. So in this case, Sol, our sun. Once we get to the point where we can capture all of the energy coming from our sun, which, is going to be, I don't know, maybe thousands of years away, then we will be a KARDASHEV type 2 civilization. And at that point, you get things like the idea of like a Dyson sphere, or you get Dyson swarms, or the different, sort of mechanical looking jobbies that are either a complete sphere or a thing that looks kind of like that big Game of Thrones clockwork thing but you would surround a sun with it. You would collect all the energy, and with that energy you collect, you could do amazing things. And then a KARDASHEV type 3 civilization can capture all of the energy that comes from the galaxy that it is in, which would mean that we would have harnessed the power of Sagittarius A star. We would have harnessed the power of all of the suns, multiple suns, as we go through our galaxy. And at that point, we would be a pan-galactic, because we would be able to leave this galaxy with all the energy we collect and go even to other galaxies. And that's the kind of thing that is, millions of years away. That's crazy, incomprehensible, in the future type shit. But that's what that video is all about. It's super, super interesting, and the guy explains it way better than I do, so go check it out. And next up, we have, and we're going to collect sort of thoughts on both. We have The Verge did a thing. Elon Musk today, just an hour or two ago, literally it wrapped up within the last hour. Elon Musk did a tech demo of working Neuralink device, and they had it hooked up to some pigs. Why don't you talk us through it, Roy? I was getting the last of the show notes together while you were watching the live stream.
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up, folks. This had a lot more in it than I thought we were going to see. He's got a device. Let's start with that. It's a device that's the size of a large coin that they can put in a skull. So they replace a little disc of your skull, and then they have these silicon carbide threads that go into your brain, and they have a robot already that does the surgery that injects these into your brain. And they've put these in pigs, and they brought out the pigs and showed them live with the thing, making noises and showing how it was responding to their, I think they were the part of the brain that was taking signals as the pigs did things with their snout. And then they also showed how they could measure the pigs' limbs as they were walking on a treadmill, and it could tell the position of the limbs through this little device. Really mind-blowing stuff.
Now, just to be clear, for those sitting at home going, what the fuck? Why are we making Skynet? Or why are we turning people into automaton robots? Blah, 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 blah. My understanding is that the initial concept of this, Roy, is that, your husband or wife gets into a car accident, becomes a paraplegic, cannot move their arms, cannot move their legs, goes blind, has a stroke, whatever the fuck, and they're now, sort of a potato. They're now unable to move, unable to whatever. This thing can like hook up to stuff, send off signals into the spinal whatever, and now your wife can get up and walk, or has access to their arms again, or can whatever, speak without being messed up from the stroke or whatever. Like, this is, I know this sounds scary, but like, this is fucking beautiful stuff, I think. Yeah
the applications you just mentioned are certainly the most humanitarian and compassionate uses of the technology to restore ability to people who've been in accidents, or things have developed that way and they don't have full function. One thing that Elon did say, though, in a response to a question about, will they be able to put these electrodes even deeper into the brain to do more things? He said, well, even with just going to the surface of the brain, that can already take care of basically all physical motion and all of your senses. So that right there blows way past just the initial, uses to restore ability. This gets into augmenting ability, enhancing ability, because this is a two-way channel. They're not just reading signals from the brain. They are, one of these slides shows like a red dot and a green field, and what they show is when they energize these leads, the neurons react. So it's a two-way communication.
So how far in do they have to go so that they can get assholes to stop taking cell phone calls on the subway and pick up their trash instead of just throwing it out on the street?
Yeah, I think behavior might be a deeper part of the brain, but I guess all I'd say is this was a lot further along than I thought it was.
Crazy.
What Elon said is basically this presentation is a recruiting activity. They already had a panel of neuroscientists and engineers and doctors and surgeons and so forth, and they're looking for many more people to scale this up. The reason they want to make the reason why they're developing this robotic surgery in parallel, of course, it's about being accurate and safe, but that also makes it scalable. So they're envisioning this is like an outpatient procedure where you lay down, the thing goes ka-chunk, and you're done, and you get up and walk out. And they could scale this to hundreds of millions of people. So
I'm just imagining when they get to the point where they can make kale taste like cheesecake, and all of the fat people just say, "Take my money," and
Kale's beautiful, man. Kale is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what this reminded me of?
No one's ever, sorry. No one's
ahead.
actually ever said kale is actually beautiful. So yeah, I'll show.
For the record, yes. If you recall Larry Niven Ringworld, where they had basically the equivalent of drug addicts, where there was a lead put into people's brain that basically directly stimulated the pleasure center, and people got kind of flaked out on that.
Yep.
I could totally see that being a misuse of this kind of tech pretty easily.
Absolutely. Ian M. Banks, with his whole culture series, had a couple of books that had some stuff that kind of went a little bit that way too, where it was interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to the next piece. Arson, why don't you talk us through this? The Navy FA-18 squadron commander did a talk on. They did this big test, and basically DARPA had a series of, I think it was 8 AIs, and they had them go on a sort of ladder against each other, like they were college basketball teams, and the winner got to go up against a real world Navy F-18 fighter pilot, and it cleaned his clock.
Yeah, I found that article to be a very interesting but also extremely exciting read, just from the perspective that the pilot that was sharing his thoughts on it, like, he's a pilot telling a story, and it kind of made me feel like I was in a book or something. But it's really, really, really interesting because they highlighted, or he highlighted, a few key factors, one of which being arguably, in my opinion, the fact that an AI-controlled drone does not have physical limitations that are going to cause it to turn into goo like a human in enormously fast high G turns. But I don't remember the exact stats because it's been a few days since I read the article, but essentially what wound up happening was over the course of 5 engagements in this AI test, I believe it was 5 engagements, the AI scored 15 hits against the pilot, and not once did the human pilot score or even have a chance to hit the AI in this dogfight. And an important key to remember in this dogfight, we're not talking about 2 super high-tech aircraft that are just being like, okay, I have a sensors locks from, 20 kilometers away, I'm gonna fire my missiles. No, we're talking like these aircraft, AI versus human, engaged in a traditional dogfight with modern fighter aircraft.
They were, to clarify, because I watched the video. They had a video on YouTube.
Oh, I missed that.
It was a dogfight, and it was engagement with guns. It was guns. It was not missiles. So you're absolutely right. It was very, very close, and it was showing. At one point, they showed the fighter pilot went into an S curve, and the AI literally it first went inverted. Then it was kind of hilarious because to me, I was like, hey, this was in Top Gun. It went inverted. It undercut cut inside of the S curve. And when the pilot came out, he tried like 3 different juke moves to shake it. And every time he would go to shake, the AI just shaved to the inside and like cut a little off the angle. And then at the very end, the pilot had nothing. He was stuck. It was good stuff. So now we know that thanks to Roy's video, we know that the robot overlords will be putting diodes and whatnot into our head. Also fear bacon because it could be the next Terminator. And thanks to Arson's video, we know that it wouldn't matter anyways because the robots could kick the shit out of us in fighter pilots' skills. So we got that to look forward to. Let's start with Arson. Your thoughts on all of this stuff?
So I'll start with the Neuralink thing. Fantastic technology. The idea of being able to help people that have lost the ability to use their limbs because of various injuries, fantastic. But if it's as cheap and as accessible as the goal that's been outlined, we already have people that body mod like crazy, and I'm not worried about people body modding and abusing it for like the pleasure center stimulation or anything like that. You do you. What worries me though is that 10-meter wireless access range of something that can not just read your brain but write to it, and that is genuinely terrifying.
Hey, there's finally a use for a tinfoil hat.
literally. And the AI thing, just that also, I'm the person that looks at technology and is like, okay, where are the shitty people in our world going to misuse this? And that's another thing. It's like, ooh, super exciting, but at the same time, also very terrifying. I fear the day that our governments have armies of nothing but drones.
All right, moving to tweaked. We got to keep this rolling.
The neurological one, to me, well, the first thing I thought of was the $6 million man. You implant that and can change things up. That's kind of the storyline of the Bionic Woman or the $6 million man. On a more personal level, though, my father was in a motorcycle accident, and he is not the man that he used to be. He was in a coma for 6+ months, woke up, and he's basically like a 4-year-old child now. And something like that could help him. That would be totally amazing. So the future could be bright for that kind of stuff. The AI, just think about the possibilities of the lives that could be saved going if we have to have another world war or something like that, and we don't actually have to send our troops into those fights. Don't disagree, however, if the AI decides to take over, that could be a Terminator-style battle for the world at that point in time. So exciting, but also a little nerve-wracking at the same time.
Well, the scary thing is, if you look through the history of the Cold War with the Russians, there were 3 or 4 points where the protocol said, for the American side or the Russian side, launch now. Launch nuclear first strike. Once there was a Russian situation where there was they were getting a false signal off of some balloons or something, and their thing said to launch, and there's audio tape of the Russian soldiers saying, this doesn't make sense, I'm not going to do it. And he's getting orders, he's getting yelled at, turn the key, do it now. And the guy's like, no, it doesn't make sense. There's a very, very similar situation where from Cheyenne Mountain, there were, I think, a flock of geese coming out of Norway or some shit, but it had to be a massive flock of geese. But it came across more than once. We had false positive indicators where the signal, if you follow the protocol, the guys in the silo were supposed to turn the keys and launch missiles on both sides. And more than once, the entire human race was saved by the fact that there was a human fucking being with that key who said, this doesn't make sense, I'm not doing it. Literally, they broke the rules. The robot would not do that. That's what scares me.
Absolutely. And with all AI, who's to say that the wrong person can't hack into it sometime, some way, somehow?
Oh, Jesus. Thanks for that. Roy, your thoughts?
2 things. One thing that Elon mentioned as one of the reasons for developing Neuralink was to augment humans so that they could compete with AI. So in his mind, this is how we avoid, saluting the robot overlords.
Yeah.
The second thing is with this F-18 AI test, one of the things that was mentioned that I thought was really interesting is the robot, the AI, does not have to worry about self-preservation. So many of the shots that the hits they got were by basically playing chicken with the other plane, going straight on, front quarter, gun nose to nose, and that's a maneuver that real pilots are discouraged from using out of self-preservation. And similarly, they won't fight, at least in training exercises, below a certain altitude to the deck. But an AI isn't going to care. They'll fly right into the ground if that gets them the kill.
Absolutely. Mattius.
Yeah, it's quite a complex subject, to be honest, because there's many different facets to it. But the actual technology itself, yeah, it's great. I mean, the technology with paraplegics or people that struggle with different elements of physical ailments, that's great. 100% agree with that. But the manipulation of that technology, that's something that's different. Who controls the buttons of yes or no of whatever situation it is? When it comes to actual AI controlled AI controlled soldiers or AI controlled fighter jets, yeah, on the one side you've got if robots are fighting, then we won't actually kill each other, then people won't get hurt, etc. But I don't mean to actually bleed into Elite Dangerous yet again, but as we've seen from the Guardian storyline, when the AI deemed that the people that were really the problem with the situation were the humans, or in that case the Guardians themselves, they got snuffed out pretty quickly, and all we had was the AI. So it's quite a dangerous thing. It's also quite a complex thing for me, so I don't really know.
Skynet. Yeah, scary as shit. All right. Moving on to so I did 2 episodes of the show since last week. Last week's Friday show, we were here. We were episode 31, Baskin Robbins. Saturday, a good 8 hours after this last week's show ended. Saturday, I did the Super Friendos, which was myself, Down to Earth Astronomy, Commander Plater, Burr and Reenie from the Burr Pit, Commander Wotherspoon, and Commander Alec Turner of the Buckyball Race Club. And we talked all about the Dev Diary 1 and the corresponding live stream, which I'm not going to call a Discovery Scanner because it wasn't. If you missed it and you would like to hear all of our thoughts on everything related to that, Link is in the show notes. You can check it out. In addition to that, on Wednesday, I did an interview with the, at that time, unannounced, new product manager for Elite Dangerous. His name is Alistair Hibberd, but his friends call him Al. And super interesting guy. He had some very interesting things to say. And it was, I think, an interview that everyone, if you play Elite Dangerous, you should listen to that interview. I've gotten so much feedback from people that were so amazingly happy that they saw that video and heard that interview, because they felt like they came out of it with a lot of positivity and some questions answered that they felt were, putting them in the right in the right frame of mind for what's going forward. Let's start with Tweaked. What did you think of the two interviews, the Super Friendos and the Al Hibberd discussion?
Well, very interesting. Both of them, I enjoyed them both very much. I agreed with most everything that was said on the Super Friendos one, of course, like we talked about on the Friday night show before that. Mm-hmm. The Al Hibberd one especially, though, that one I was able, or at least I felt like I was able to glean some things about Odyssey that he didn't quite, say that was definitely a thing or this is definitely a thing. But the way he was talking, you could almost get a feel for the direction that it might be going. And that left me, as I already was, but it left me very thirsty, hungry, and hopeful for what's to come.
Right on, right on. Arson, your thoughts on the two?
The Super Friendos was fantastic. Watched the whole thing. I actually had to watch it in 2 parts, but just fantastic. Getting some of the thoughts from the other content creators was fantastic. Definitely worth a view. But the Al Hibberd interview, that really, really stood out to me. Like Tweak said, that was very much a kind of get a feel for the direction. I also left that with the positive, like, man, there's going to be a lot more to Odyssey than they're letting on yet. And I'm excited about that.
Right on. Right on. All right. And Roy, your thoughts?
From the Super Friendos, I'd say as much praise as there was for the content of all the good stuff that we had also talked about in the dev diary. Mm-hmm. I think there was well deserved criticism of the method of delivery and the sort of the I don't know if misuse is the right word, but mistitling of it wasn't in the same spirit as the original dev diaries where there was a technical deep dive in a certain aspect of the game. This was more of a marketing thing. And I think it was correct to call them out on it. I'd like to see them try to steer more towards some meaty topics where it's less of a cheerleading. I mean, it's nice to have some hype, but it felt a little overdone on some of those on some parts of the Discovery Scanner and so forth. So I think there's quite a bit of fine tuning that could be done to really sharpen that and not have the method detract from the content. I don't have much to add about the Al Hibberd thing other than it's a definite worth watching. It is some very good meaty content, and it's definitely not a fluff piece or a marketing exercise. Al was, I think, being as straightforward as he could be. And yeah, I also felt there was some hints being thrown around, and certainly a lot of positivity about having another 10 years of Elite in some form or another.
Well, I got to ask you, what hints are you referring to? What did you hear that you thought, oh, that's interesting that he said that? Anything you want to get into, or you want to play close to the vest right now?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to go too deep into tinfoil territory right now, but I felt like the way that, specifically in the conversation about flora and fauna, the way that sort of naturally flowed, he was not at all trying to temper things there. So my mind went towards maybe seeing things that we hope to see sooner than not. So
interesting.
Also his statements about gunplay and how he thought we were going to be very pleasantly surprised with how good the gunplay is. That leads me to be very excited about what's to come. That combined with the article that came out today, has me very excited about the kind of combat we probably or could be getting with Odyssey.
Right on. Very cool. All right. And Mattius, did you get a chance to catch the either of the two shows in question?
The latter show I didn't actually catch, but the earlier show, the Super Friendos, yeah, I watched that. Yeah, it was really interesting. It was really interesting to see all the senior content creators on YouTube discuss what they actually think is or isn't part of the game. My thoughts on it, in particular, would be the fact of why have they used Odyssey? Why have they used the word Odyssey? And if the explanation is we can just get out the ship and we can walk around and scan some limited areas that we can explore, then that's a bit of a lame explanation, to be honest, in my opinion. Odyssey, it's a journey, and we all know the tinfoil in regards to what David Braben and other members of the crew may or may not be interested in terms of conspiracy theories or alternative history theories, and just think it's really interesting, the words of Odyssey. I actually completely disagree. Certain people that say that, well, it's got nothing to do with the single player storyline. I actually completely agree that it has got everything to do with the single player storyline. It makes sense to do that. So yeah.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. All right. I'm interested. There was one thing that Al said that perked up my ears more than any other thing, and I hadn't heard anybody mention it. So I guess we'll just wait and see how it plays off. But I'm super, super interested to hear from those of you that are listening that might have listened to that. What did you feel like you heard that you were like, huh, okay. And I'm not giving anything else out on that because I probably shouldn't. But I feel like there was a couple of things that Al said that were very, very promising. All right. Let's see. Moving on. Let me tab out here because I'm going to just mention this real quick because I actually was in the game in between things here while I'm listening to you guys talk. And I randomly get friend requests from all kinds of people that I don't know. And I'm just going to be rejecting those because I have no idea who you are, and I always play it open. So that seems like probably a bad idea to announce myself like that to everybody. But if I know who you are, if you're somebody that's like, hey, man, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, please hit me up and, sort of say something instead of just randomly getting a friend request from, ABC 47. And I'm like, I do not know that person at all. I felt like I did a good enough job changing the subject there. All right, let's roll into Souvarine's. Commander Souvarine of Lave Radio fame and editor emeritus of Sagittarius Eye magazine. He was previously the chief editor. He is now the editor emeritus, who sort of runs things along with Mac Winston, who is the current editor-in-chief at Sagittarius Eye. He made a post on the forums today with regard to narrative in the game Elite Dangerous, and he told me about it, asked me for my advice on it, and we talked about it a little bit. He posted his thread, and I told him, why don't you come on the show and we'll do a little pre-record. We'll do a little interview where we talk about the importance of story in Elite Dangerous. So why don't you go ahead and roll that, Arson, and mute the mics. Hello, and welcome to this very special insert of the Galactic Water Cooler here for Elite Week. Today I have coming in Commander Souvarine, he of SAG-I and Lave Radio fame, who wants to tell us a little bit about a forum post that he just made with regard to lore and narrative in Elite Dangerous. Sue, take it away.
Well, thanks for having me on. Great to be here. So this is, I was a little bit wary of poking my head above the parapet, as always am on the forum, because one, this feels a little bit like a conversation that's been had sort of most of a year ago. And two, because I don't use the forum all the time, I'm always slightly wary of saying things that may have been covered extensively by other people. But narrative and elite is something that it's a topic that doesn't really go away. And last night I was flying with a couple of friends, and one of whom I didn't know very well, and a nascent friend, shall we say. And he was bemoaning the fact that the storylines have just completely stopped. You know, the Guardian, the ongoing Guardian mystery, the Thargoid War, they've just totally stopped. And it struck me that this topic isn't going away. And Frontier's communication about Galnet and narrative has never been, don't worry, this is just a brief moratorium, it's coming back. Their communication has been, we've got no plans. We've got, no plans, nothing planned. Don't get your hopes up. It's stopped. That's all you need to know. So, and because it keeps coming up in conversation, and because the game continues to be the poorer without it, I just felt it was worth discussing again. So that was my motivation for it. In terms of the meat of it, people talk about narrative flippantly, not intentionally, but I think people do generally talk about it slightly flippantly in terms of it being an all or nothing thing that elite just needs to have back. And it struck me that actually narrative means completely different things to different people. And actually some of the things that narrative could mean are mutually exclusive. And doing them all, keeping everybody happy, would be impossible. And Frontier have actually played with different means of telling stories over the 6 years that the game has been released. And we've actually seen lots of different permutations of the broad category of storytelling. So it struck me that actually as a community we are far from clear about what we want, and the community is not a homogenous thing. We're made up of lots of different interests, and I really wanted to get a feel for what people really mean when they say they want narrative back in the game. And obviously the problem with the forum is that it represents 5% of the total player base, and you've got to be a particular type of player to log on to the developers' forums and chat about a game you're playing. So necessarily it's going to be a sample of only the most dedicated players. But also I think that from Frontier's point of view, they are slightly caught between, if they pursue their developers' vision for the game, then they keep a certain segment of the community happy. If they do what they perceive the community wants, arguably, then people say like, oh, they're just reactive. They don't have their own vision for the game. So I feel like a way to help Frontier. I mean, this sounds really arrogant, and I don't mean it to sound like this, but I'm aware that it does. But a way to help Frontier make decisions for the future of the game might be to very clearly let people tell them what outcomes they want, and what sort of aspects of the game that they enjoy and don't enjoy, and then let Frontier do with that information what they want. It's very easy for people to write forum posts saying, we want this. We being, I'm speaking for all players. Whereas I actually think that it's probably more useful to give everybody a chance to say what it is that they personally enjoy, and then Frontier do with that information whatever they want, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. And interestingly enough, it's one of those situations where you're going to have people that want A, you're going to have people that want B, you're going to have people that want C, and let's say maybe D. Okay. Yeah. And the one thing that you cannot do, the one sin that you cannot commit, or you will doom yourself to eternal failure, is to try to do a little of all. Like you can maybe put in a dash of this, a sprinkle of this, but if you try to do sort of equally in all ways, you're going to end up with, that's where sometimes you see like a car or a product that they say is designed by committee, where it's like, oh, you didn't have the balls to commit to a vision of one thing or another.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
While you can absolutely, if you say, hey, look, we've decided, Frontier as a corporation, we've decided that we're going to do column B. Okay, then you have to do column B 100%. You have to do it absolutely right. You have to give it an excellent product of the column B flavor. And then you can throw in a little, a splash of A, a dash of B, or C, a little something. But you cannot try to do, okay, we're going to have it halfway, this version and halfway that version. That just never works.
Yeah, exactly that. I think that in the past they've occasionally, so they've innovated not innovated the wrong word, but they've mixed up the formula slightly occasionally. So I've really, really enjoyed when they've offered cosmetics as a partial reward for things. So the Thargoid bobblehead, for example, as a reward for bringing a Thargoid heart and to wherever it was.
Meta alloys and yada yada.
Yeah. That kind of thing I think is brilliant and is really interesting. You don't want to do it all the time because then it becomes a little bit it's quite shallow and it's not the same as narrative. But it is definitely a different way to get people to engage with the way you are telling the story. And CGs and concerted efforts like this should be viewed as narrative. Frontier directing players' attentions to a certain area to pursue a certain goal is the tool by which you tell a story. Go on.
The story is your cup of coffee. That's your focus. But the bobblehead or the Golconda sticker, that's your little splash of cinnamon in there. That's your little extra flavor.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that has really interested me is that I have my own idea of what kind of storytelling I like to see in Elite, and it has interested me that is not what everybody says they like. And because I think we always think that whatever we like must be normal, but and it always interests me to find out that other people don't have the same ideas. I think certain things like that. A few people have said that they really like the idea of a scripted linear story campaign, for example. I would never think of that for Elite Dangerous. It just wouldn't. I just think, oh no, if you're going to spend dev effort, like if you're going to spend man hours doing development on Elite, please don't do that. But actually, the reasons that they give are valid, and Elite can seem a bit of a big, cold, dark sandbox with not a lot of, there's loads of lore behind it, and I've watched David Braben and Michael Brooks sort of talk for several minutes on end about what life is like in the Alliance and what life is like in the Empire, but the way that manifests in game is nearly non-existent. You control the codex and the stations are different colors, but apart from that, there's no evidence of that world building that's gone on. So I think that actually, if a single player story campaign would arguably be better than nothing. So it's not necessarily that I'm pushing a certain agenda. I do have my own vision for what I would like storytelling to look like in Elite, but it's more that I'd like Frontier to sort of embrace storytelling as a key part of the universe that they've built, rather than sort of demanding my own vision of what that looks like.
Well, let's just take a moment and explore your own vision. You say you have a clear idea of the answer you would like. For someone who's posting a forum thread where you don't really take a side in this, you basically propose the question to the community. Hey, tell me what you want. So now I'm going to flip the script and I'm going to ask you, Souvarine, tell me what you, Souvarine, want.
Okay, well, I wholeheartedly agree with David Braben's attitude to storytelling in video games, which is, saving the princess or saving the world or being the Dragonborn is fine in a single player game if you're looking for a power fantasy. Elite Dangerous is an MMO in the way that it is every player starts in exactly the same way, and there is no if everybody was allowed to rescue the princess, then there'd be so many princesses that the word would lose meaning. We can't all be the Dragonborn, and David Braben is studious in emphasizing that individual players against a galaxy of untold trillions are very, very minor actors indeed. And I completely sign up to that. And I don't think we need a great deal of personal impact in the galaxy to feel like we're making a difference. It's more, the kind of storytelling I would like is for Frontier to set up interesting questions, which players then answer through action, and then Frontier accommodate and recognize that action and follow it up with further story beats. And they've done this before. So, for example, with Colonia, I don't know how scripted Colonia was. It interests me that they didn't just remove Jack's station from the game, that they actually moved him to a nebula, which could be found by players. If it was me and I really didn't want players to find it, I would have probably removed it from the game. So the fact that they didn't implies that maybe there was the they were open to the potential of it being found. But the way that Frontier then wrote story around the discovery of Jack's station, recognized what players had done, and then the continuing narrative of that completely it recognized further player action and endorsed it, and then what the levers that Frontier have to pull are things like adding new stations, writing Galnet articles, adding new factions, which they did wholeheartedly. The ultimate direction of Colonia as a patchwork of factions wasn't what I wanted for the region, but it undoubtedly brought more people into it, and it has left a permanent mark on the universe. So I think the marks of good storytelling are recognizing player action, using a value for money attitude to, or a value for effort attitude to evaluating what tools in the developer toolbox they should apply. Not everything needs voice acted cutscenes, but adding another station asset isn't necessarily particularly time consuming. And furthermore, making sure that whatever it is leaves a lasting mark on the galaxy. The Interstellar Initiatives were good for this. The things that the Interstellar Initiatives left were permanent. That there is now a permanent ferry to the Guardian ruins, for example. Things like that are a nice way to give the galaxy a sense of chronology, and to give the game a sense of a direction of events. So I definitely am in favor of the kind of dungeon master approach, whereby Frontier sort of set up scenarios, observe what players do, and then embrace that.
So a collaborative storytelling of sorts.
Kind of, but definitely I don't think any individual player should have too much agency. I really am not in favor of individual players being able to affect outcomes. It leads to this concept of player celebrities, which I think is nonsense. And it leads other players, or players who aren't plugged into the community, it gives them a sense that it's a bit sewn up. So I think that there have been a few times in the past when Frontier have set up really interesting scenarios. So, for example, the period around the return was done. It wasn't flawless. There were things that about the unveiling of the Thargoids which feel a little bit clumsy. But in general, it was not an Independence Day style, oh my God, we're under attack. It was okay, here are aliens. How are you going to interact with them? They're not immediately attacking you, and actually we've been blowing up their shit and nicking their meta alloys for years now. How is this going to play out? And I remember writing editorials for Sagai, really enjoying that question, and writing about the players that were actively hunting the Xeno hunters, and interviewing people that were flying with AXI and their justifications for shooting first, essentially. Really interesting scenarios, really toothsome questions.
Yeah.
And the way that the players interact with the game around these kind of questions is easily measurable. Frontier have easily passable statistics about how many Thargoids have been attacked that week. It is not beyond the wit of man to formulate story beats as a result of what players do. So what that might look like is for example, let's think. For storytelling to work, you need trade-offs. You need things to be at the expense of other things. So for example, you could have a scenario where a given faction or a given kind of power are hit with a natural disaster, and they need and in a Galnet article it says they really need at least X quantity of Y in order to be able to do Z, for example. And then you don't necessarily need to announce that on the forum or in any special menu as being a community goal, but players should recognize that if they then take that commodity to that station, then the outcome Z will happen. And obviously, other players can get involved and pirate those as they undoubtedly will. But it can be quite organic. And then at the end of the week, that can be quite easily counted up, and then the next story beat can be written around that. And I don't want to make it sound like this is super easy. And I'm aware that there are localization issues, and voice acting particularly is, if as and when it's used, is probably adds dimensions of effort. But that kind of sort of periodic sequential storytelling, where you've got branching events based on fairly binary decisions that players collectively do, mean that over time they give the galaxy a real sense of history and also geography, because these places, I remember that there's a system where a friend and I really got stuck into the CG, and we always remember that system as the system where we had where these things happened to us, and where we got stuck into the CG and we helped to build this station and all that sort of thing. And it gives the galaxy a sense of time and a sense of place in a way that a static sandbox just doesn't generate on its own. So that's the kind of thing that I would like to see in terms of storytelling. I'm less bothered by voice acted, one-off missions from engineers. It feels a little bit too much like static quest givers from traditional MMOs for my liking. And I certainly don't feel the need for a sort of a scripted linear storyline where you get to save the princess and then everybody gets spat out into the starter zone and we've all saved the same princess. I'm not interested in that kind of thing.
So to address your choice of when you say the thing about saving the princess, setting aside the fact for a moment that it's the year 2020, and as the incredibly wonderful and capable and also lovely women of the Expanse demonstrate, there's absolutely nothing to say that the princess can't be saving you or whatever. But setting that aside for just a moment, the whole I did an interview just a couple of days ago with Al Hibberd, the product manager for Elite Dangerous, and I told him in that interview I would much rather be Mal Reynolds than Luke Skywalker. I find the story of the sort of the guy just trying to get by, that he's not the center of the universe. He's just one of a million billion cogs and a billion different little interconnected systems, and he's just trying to get by, to be much more personally gratifying, sort of looking at it from an adult standpoint. I think that the 12-year-old wants to be Luke Skywalker, and there's a 12-year-old in all of us that still wants to be Luke Skywalker. But the stories of Firefly or the Expanse, I think, are much more gratifying. Those gray areas and those situations where look at the Expanse. Everyone has a legitimate reason to tell you why they're the good guy and everyone else is the bad guy.
Yeah, absolutely that. Yeah, that's mature storytelling. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Completely right. I mean, I'm aware that my preference for the game is not I'm not ripping up the rule book. The Frontier have form in multiple choice CG outcomes. I actually just I like the way that they've told a lot of stories. I like the way they handled the conflict. I really like the way that they handled Colonia broadly. Broadly. I really like the way that they handled the Emperor's Dawn thing. I really like the way that they the way that they've left some questions ambiguous, like what are the motivations of the Thargoids? How risky is it to plumb for Guardian tech? I like the fact that they've not made things clear binary choices, and they've left things ambiguous. So really, it's just I would be happy with a return to story-driven sequential CGs that have a direction of travel and build up a sense of time moving forward and events being linked in the galaxy.
With one huge asterisk, and that is, while I very much love the Golconda event as it played out, I agree with what you stated in your forum post. Please, please, please do not signpost it. Do not put a thread in the forum saying, what's going to happen over the next 4 weeks of the Golconda. Like, don't do that.
Yeah. Absolutely that. Yeah, totally agree. I can understand why they did it, because they were sort of testing the waters, but I don't think it needed to be done for more than the first one. And actually, for those of us who like to be kept in the dark, it was ruin it is a big word, but it certainly I'd prefer it if they didn't.
And I think you also have to have a weight to some of the choices. You cited as an example the Thargoid situation of, like, the Thargoids have returned, and you said, okay, well, it was stated that now we're going to see, like, their reaction to us is going to be based on what we do. The problem with that equation is we had the stick, but we had no carrot. We had guns that we can pew Thargoids, but as far as I know of, we didn't have any dialogue option, there was no point where you came across a Thargoid distress ship and you had the opportunity to send repair limpets or anything in any way to go on the plus side of detente or communication. It was the only communication device or tool that we had at our disposal was Daka.
Yeah, it was a case of shoot or not shoot, and it was very clearly implied that if we didn't shoot, then nothing would happen. And it's not like there aren't tools in the game that we could have, as you say, there are repair limpets. You could have it so that taking certain commodities to a certain place would benefit the Thargoids in some way and be viewed as benevolent by them. We've got scanning tools. There's science that we could do or interact with that could have potentially avoided conflict.
You could have had a weird little box pop up, and it says, your computer says, I can't translate exactly what they're asking for, but I do at least get enough context to know they're asking for the location of a methane world. And then you could just paste a methane world in there. And okay, that's the beginning of a friendly,
Yeah, absolutely. Stuff like that. I'm not sure how you do it because they'd obviously have a different classification system to us. But yeah, with creativity, you could do that. I mean, as I mentioned on one of the forum responses, there is a risk to that because if somebody spent 6 months designing how Thargons move and how Thargoids fight, if the players then decide that actually they don't want to fight them, you've wasted a load of effort. So I am aware that this kind of multiple choice directed dungeon master type storytelling, you do need to make sure that you're not being that the devs aren't being led in a direction that they haven't planned for. So I think that the illusion of choice is arguably more important than true choice, because we do need to make sure that the devs are being allowed to implement the content that they've planned, and also that they're not wasting effort, because it shouldn't be up to players to dictate what new content Frontier deliver. They're the ones who plan their own workflow. They know what they're working on. If they're planning on introducing the Thargoids as an antagonist race, then that needs to happen. So storytelling needs to be a delicate job of making sure players feel like they're in control, but also making sure that you're not letting players inadvertently waste your efforts, if that makes sense.
It'll be interesting to see what people say that they want, because this is one sort of very important thing. In my thread that I posted back in February, a lot of people were saying, well, since the devs won't give us a story, how about you take our community reporting as a story? Or since the devs won't give this, how about you that? Since we can't have this, how about you that? This is different, though. I wonder, if you're in a situation where it's like, no, don't tell me what you'll take as a third or fourth option, because quite often that is suboptimal. If you just tell me what is it that you actually want primarily, I think you're going to get a lot less people, and this is just a conjecture, but I think you're going to get a lot less people that are going to be saying, well, I want it to be Sagai reporting, or I want it to be a laundry list of, this race happened on this day and this thing happened on that day. If people get what they want in their heart of hearts, I suspect the vast majority will say that they want a crafted narrative to be told with, as you said, with some little dashes of input here and there, but they want a mastermind. They want a Michael Brooks behind the scenes that is crafting a story that's going to go that's got legs. It's going to go for a while, and that's going to have several sort of chapters and whatever.
Yeah, absolutely that. So, examples of future story sort of crucial points that could be set up. The Guardian AI are heavily trailed to be out there. They are presumably very powerful. We've had numerous references to the hidden caretakers of the galaxy. Players, it could be trailed that there is something out there that could lead to knowledge of where the Guardian AI is. That leads to player activity in a certain area. You then have that thing being found, and potentially there's some other action that needs, or some other data that needs to be collected to make sense of that. Then you've got a direction of travel. Then you could potentially have an area of search. Players love the sensation that they're looking for something. The problem with exploration, I think exploration is very well done in Elite, but it can feel a little bit like there's nothing to find. And being told that actually in this 1,000 light year square of space or 100 light year square of space, there is X to be found. Get out there and explore. What a brilliant, that would be so much fun going out there and scanning using the FSS and feeling like there really is something exciting to find. It'd be like sort of Willy Wonka, it'd be like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory eating loads of chocolate bars to try and find the one with the golden ticket in it. And when Frontier have done that in the past, it has led to really exciting flurries of exploration activity. So then obviously, you find a thing, and it could be a gate that leads somewhere, and it needs some gubbins to be done to it to unlock it. And then that prompts further activity. These aren't binary choices. These are hurdles that you set up for the player base, and you gauge them so that they'll be able to jump over them. But then once you've sort of come into contact with the Guardian AI, there could be the trade-off could be, okay, well, if we embrace this, there is a cost. There is a cost in terms of we've ceded power to a more powerful ally, or we've given up an element of our humanity, or something like that. And the offset for that, or the trade-off for that, could be something like, but we've got access to far more powerful weapons, which we'll finally be able to win the fight with the Thargoids with, or something like that. Interesting tensions that then players that aren't easy decisions for players, or require a little bit of thought. And the amount that we've written over the years in Sagai and talked about on Lave Radio about these sort of toothsome questions that don't have easy answers, they are absolutely brilliant, and they cause so much discussion and engagement. So I think there are plenty of things just waiting to be explored in Elite's story. It's just a case of FDev carving out the resources to structure some storytelling around it, really.
Well, let's hope that they do. Thank you very much for coming in, Souvarine, and I want you to end this by looking directly into the camera and give a call to action to those commanders hearing your voice right now. What do you want them to do with regard to this forum thread?
I am not speaking into a camera. I'm speaking into a microphone, but I'm looking grimly at it. And I implore you, listeners, to one, keep supporting Elite Week and Kaizen's marvelous contributions to the Elite Dangerous community. But two, if you have any spare time left over from enthusiastically doing that, hop onto the Frontier Forum, find my thread, which is called, what the hell is it called? Elite's Narrative Again, Sorry. And give your thoughts. Tell us and Frontier exactly what kind of storytelling you would like to see in Elite, or you have enjoyed in the past. What didn't you enjoy? What did you enjoy? What made you feel engaged? What made you interested to log in again? It's fascinating for me, and hopefully it's interesting for Frontier. And the more we talk about it, the less unlikely it is that it might actually happen.
And since you're not thinking to promote it, I will. Also tune in on Tuesdays and listen to my friend on Lave Radio, where you can hear his thoughts along with 3 other people that should let him speak more often. All right. Thank you very much, Suv. It's been great.
Thanks, guys. Catch you later.
Ciao. All right. Well, all right. Let's start with the top. Arson, what did you think of that little talk?
I thought it was fantastic. I think it's really great points, and I love the question. And I'm just going to kind of go point by point some of my thoughts by it. I'm going to run through them as quick as I can. But on the signposting, I completely agree. Don't post stuff. We don't need to play by play before it even happens. I like having a reason to check the in-game interfaces for news or CGs or Galnet articles. For the CG Tech Rewards, I feel that this is tied with the narrative. For example, we had the corrosive cargo racks. That CG only passed 1 tier, so we only have like class 2 or class 1 corrosive cargo racks or something like that.
Class 2. We've got class 1 and 2. 1 carries 2 tons, 2 carries 4 tons.
Yes, but it kind of sucks. It would be great if we had more. Oh, yeah. My thought is, if you have new technology that you're introducing because of narrative in a CG thing, if the CG fails, it doesn't complete to its absolute maximum completion, treat those pieces of technology as if they were rare commodities, only able to be purchased in the one place. But if the CG just skyrockets and it passes completion, make it available at the tech brokers or just available to the public in general instead of being locked to that one location. I feel like that would be a lot better way to take the point that Suv made about not wasting developer time. If you make a huge weapon for part of a tech CG, but we don't unlock it through that CG, you should still give it to us. Don't waste that effort. Just make us have to go through hoops.
Yeah, at that point, though, they have to do something because you can't give it for free. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, it's like you can't also make it to where, well, everybody's a winner. You have to do something. But, yeah. All right. Roy, did you have something else?
Just that for the narrative thing, for those of us that like the fanfic, give us a technology section in the codex with an official timeline for actual technologies progression in the Elite universe.
Yeah, that sounds very cool. All right, Roy, your thoughts.
So the thing that really resonated with me was when Souvarine mentioned, people like to think there's something to be found when they're exploring, and I would love to see more of the things where, like at Dav's Hope or at the Generation ships, where you get the snippets of recordings and it sort of plays out a little story, and it's very much like I'm also a big fan of the Fallout series, and the thing I love about those is each little location you go into, there's like a little drama that's played out in the past, and you get to experience it through letters and hacking into computer panels, and it doesn't have to be the big story arc. It's the kind of thing that just fills in the gaps and increases immersion. So I'd love to see a lot more of that.
Right on. Why don't we mix it up? Mattius, your thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. I kind of agree with what a lot of what he was saying, but how do I put this? I think Elite, I think Frontier Development should have a little bit of a balls with the direction of the storyline. So I think they should choose a storyline and make some more difficult choices. So make players more uncomfortable within the universe that surrounds them. One day just wake up and the bubble's completely gone. Fleet carrier's completely gone. The station that they're in is completely wiped out. You've got like 5 minutes to get out of the station, and then you escape barely with your life. Make it more dangerous, but in a different way. Make the Fargoids more dangerous. Make some other aspects of the game more dangerous. Not just focus on whether players are happy or they're not happy. Just go with a storyline, and then people will follow. It's not just about the community in large. It's about what they decide to write a storyline. And if they write a good storyline, then people will follow it. If they don't, then people will criticize it. But just have a bit of have some balls to write a gritty storyline akin to maybe 40K.
All right, Tweaked.
Well, a couple things there. Kind of piggyback off of Roy. I am one of the ones, I think I said last week, I can't get myself to go to explore. And the reason for that is I don't feel like there's anything out there to find except for a lot of beautiful sites, which that's something in itself I understand. But if I even got a tip from a stranger that if I went and it ballooned into a string of story or something, that would even be very cool. There's a bunch of different ways that that FDev could bring story in that regard. I totally agree. Don't post a forum with a big flashing green neon sign saying story, come in, go to this system on this date. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let us naturally discover it kind of through a story in the game, whether that be a tip off from a stranger or if, a random. I know we don't get any Galnet anymore, but we did get one when the fleet carriers popped. Maybe we get a random one at some other point in time. That kind of thing could totally work. As far as burning the bubble, I've heard this a few times throughout the last year or so, and I do totally agree that something like that would be totally interesting. The one downside to that, I think, is somebody like myself, whom has worked very hard to build a little bubble for my PMF, to have that get flushed right down the toilet would be very frustrating for me. That being said, even not Thargoid related, and I think I said this in the Discord earlier, I even think that if they introduced a new alien race that came and attacked us, that, you know, actually came to us, we didn't have, you know, like right now we have to go search for the Thargoids to fight them. We got to go out to the Pleiades sector and find them. They're not a threat at all, really. You can totally ignore that. If I'm just flying in my home system, or I'm flying in Shinny or wherever in the bubble, and there's these new baddies that come in and start attacking us, but we don't need special ships. We don't have to go to the Guardian sites and get those. So in the community right now, in my experience, engineering, getting people to engineer their ships fully is one thing. That can be a fight. A lot of people don't want to go through that grind. Like that, getting the Guardian stuff done is a whole nother thing that people don't want to do all the time or haven't done already. But most everybody does have some form of a combat ship. So if we had new baddies that came in, that would bring the whole community together. They, you know, everybody be up there trying to save everything. That would make it very interesting. But I do not want them to burn the bubble and all of a sudden all the systems that I've worked hard to get my PMF into are gone and all that work is just gone. I don't want to see that kind of thing happen.
Right on. All right. Lots of thoughts on that. That's going to be definitely our community question for today. That's going to definitely be it. And we'll get to that later. So next up, we've got Wanderers, and that's a video by Erik Wernquist. And it is this amazing video that he did that has some Carl Sagan sort of voiceover narration. You're seeing it on the screen now. It's this amazing video, and it's obviously CG, but it's set using all locations in our solar system. So it's like, man, what if in the future you've got this kind of a ship that can go to this planet, you've got this kind of thing set up here, this kind of a base, you've got people in these kind of suits doing this kind of exploration in this kind of area, you've got people that are, you know, in like jumpsuits doing stuff. You've got people that are like base diving off of a cliff. You've got people that have this weird sort of like almost like a bird kind of a hang glider type setup or whatever. You know, and they're able to do that because they're in a planet that has a greatly reduced gravity. And so, you know, in that particular setup, you're seeing people basically, you know, in kind of a Leonardo da Vinci looking bird suit flying around. That right there, you've got a space elevator that's coming down from orbit, going down planet side. I mean, there's just so much cool stuff, and the way that the narration goes with it, and look, you see those sort of Mars dirigibles and whatnot. Like, this is crazy shit. This video, if you're an Elite Dangerous player, this little, whatever, 8-minute, 10-minute video will get you so psyched. And some of the stuff on here would be cool things to see on, you know, light gravity. How many planets do we see that it's 0.01 or 1 or 0.05? Like, it's super light gravity. There's some neat shit that we could see in this, and I'm not saying this is stuff that's going to come in Odyssey. This is crazy, you know, deep conceptual stuff, but it'd be cool to see this kind of stuff someday. Let's start with Mattius. You're seeing the video right now on the screen. Tell me some of your thoughts about this crazy cool. And have you seen this before?
I actually cannot see the video. Just bear with me 1 second. Right, okay, I haven't actually seen this video. In terms of the sorry, I'm eating a Pringles. In terms of the ice worlds and the possibilities for that, the possibilities are amazing. So we got glaciers, and we got the possibility to explore within those glaciers and caves and all the new things that are coming in the game. Yeah, you've caught me on an off chance. I do apologize.
No worries, no worries. Just the whole concept, though. I know you have a wanderer spirit. You and your Pringles will be getting out there doing some weird, funky shit in all kinds of cool places. Arson, what are your thoughts on this?
I want some of the Pringles.
Okay.
But I think it's beautiful. The narration.
You have a Pringle.
the narration is it's. I don't have words for the narration. It's just fantastic.
All of Carl Sagan's stuff is, billions and billions of stars. It's so iconic.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful. Tweaked, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous video. Really, really spurs the imagination, and you're absolutely right. It would be very cool to see some of that stuff in Odyssey somewhere down the line.
Beautiful. Roy?
I think what this inspires is just the kind of joy you're going to have in seeing some of the things in Odyssey that have a similar leap in the level of detail, the level of rendering. When we eventually, hopefully, get who knows, weather, if this keeps marching towards different types of planets and so forth. Many of those vistas in this video can be made with that kind of backdrop. So in the same way that we explore to look at beautiful, stars and planets and eclipses and black holes, I'm just excited for the kind of vistas we're going to see in Odyssey and beyond. And this kind of video just is inspiring about that.
Absolutely. All right. So keeping it moving here. The next up, we've got Frontier News. There's a lot of Frontier News today. So let's start at the top. Right now, Elite is on sale for 75% off on Steam until August 31st. So if you want to get a second account for cheap, you want to get an account for your girlfriend, you want to get an account for your brother-in-law, right now, get it for 75% off. You can't beat that. Also, 30% off on select products, and the elusive iridescent paint jobs are available now until the 1st of September on the ARC store. 30% off on stuff is cool. If you're going to buy it, I always say get it cheap. And the iridescent paint jobs, let me tell you something. There's a lot of ships where, now me personally, I'm the biggest fan of the Black Friday, paint job. And that's coming up in November. So save some marks. Be ready for it. But the iridescent paint jobs are crazy sexy for a lot of ships. These are the ones that are that purplish or bluish or whatever, but it's got that glimmer. And the other one is the one that's like gold, but better than the gold because it's like with a crazy glimmer. Ridiculously hot. Next up, we've got the 300th newsletter was issued just today. Now, the newsletter is a thing that they send out every 2 weeks, and it gives you some information, and that's cool. But they also give free shit out with the newsletter a lot, sometimes here and there. And this week is one of the weeks. You can go sign up for the newsletter right now on the Frontier website. And if you do, they're going to send you that newsletter 300. And when they do, they're also going to send you a code for that free paint job that you can see on the screen right now on the ASP Explorer. And that code is the Glint paint job for the ASP Explorer. You get a free paint job. There's also a competition going on where 30 commanders will win a free 5,000 arcs, and one commander will win an Elite Dangerous themed stream deck. And I happen to be looking at one right here, and I can tell you it is a very, very sharp themed stream deck. So if you want to have a cool button box that you can have programmable buttons with all kinds of stuff, and it is got a Elite logo on it, and it looks like a little Elite Dangerous, one of those little pads on your console there. You can win that thing. Cool as shit. Contest is going on till, I think that one goes on till September 14th. So go sign up for the newsletter right now for free. Cost you nothing. They'll mail you every 2 weeks. Here's some stuff. Here's some information. Here's stuff for free. Here's just we thought you might want to know this, that, and every once in a while. Oh, by the way, here's a code for a free thing, cost you nothing. I think you're dumb if you don't sign up for this. Go sign up for this. Get it now. If you don't, you're going to miss it. There's going to be no live stream on Monday because Monday, August 31st, is a bank holiday in the UK. So there will be no live stream on Monday. WCCF did an interview with Luke Betterton and Chris Gregory, and the link is in the show notes. It is a very well-sourced interview. They have exactly the name of the question, the guy giving the question and the guy giving the answer, and there are specific quotes for each. These are very, very interesting with lots of, I feel, A, hopeful information, and B, interesting little hints of what is to come. So we're going to pause right here because we're about halfway through the Frontier news. I don't want to do like 50 things and then say, okay, your thoughts. But so we'll pause here and start with Roy. Your thoughts on the newsletter, the sale on ARC stuff, the contest, the free shit, and the article.
I think you hit the high points. I'm definitely signed up for the newsletter and looking forward to that paint job. So always happy to get more bling for the ship.
Absolutely. And when it's free,
yep,
you'd be dumb not to. Arson, what do you think?
I think it's awesome. I actually signed up both my alt accounts for a copy of the newsletter.
If you want the paint job, sure, why not? Tweaked.
Yeah, it can't beat a free paint job, that's for sure. And that iridescent paint job, I have that on my Cobra right now, and the darker colored one looks great on like a Corvette or a bigger ship like that, I think. That article today was very intriguing, talking about technological thing, settlements that are technological and doing things, and how do they phrase it? The faces that you've seen up to now on your menus that you're now going to see NPCs walking around doing things, and again, the way they described the gunplay, how you can go in guns a-blazing if you're strong enough, or you can go in and try to do it your own way, and if you're walking out in the middle of a desert by yourself, you might want to be able to arm yourself and protect yourself. It sounds like they're going to let you decide what kind of a FPS player you want to be, and I was hoping that they would make it so I didn't have to join an army and I could be a gunslinger, aka Mal Reynolds or Han Solo, because when I was 12 years old, I didn't want to be Luke Skywalker. I wanted to be Han Solo. Right from the first time I saw A New Hope, Han Solo was my thing. So I've always wanted to be that gunslinger. So I think they're going to allow that to happen in Odyssey. Very exciting article. Everybody should go read that.
And did you catch in that article when they were like, hey, tell us about the new kinds of ships or new kinds of SRBs or whatever we're getting? And literally, he said, Luke Betterton was like, oh, I can't give you details just yet, but there's going to be lots of new ways to get around, which to me, I'm like, oh, SRV variants, bring it on, baby.
Yeah, and definitely a lot of great things in that article.
And I'm totally shocked that as much as all of you guys have given me shit this week, all week, about this Stream Deck, that you guys have the chance to win one yourself now, and nobody pointed that out as, oh yeah, I'm getting in on that shit. All right, Mattius.
The possibility for new content, the possibility for new skins, etc. Yeah, that's great. Go for it. I'll only ever be having a white with maybe a little bit of red on my paint job, so that's that. But yeah, in terms of ground pounding, etc., I love it. I'm a massive fan of Milsim games, so I'll be signing up to whatever community to use LSWs, preferably. I'll enjoy that a lot.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So let's move on to the back half here. We did the interview already. We've got the new projects announced. So Gamescom is going on right now, and they announced several new projects, one of which was that thing that they've been tweeting about all week. It's a weird, funky little cartoony graphic game for the Nintendo that is called Struggle. And it's this weird little sludge creature that's got like eyeballs, and he's got basically like 2 limbs, and he's kind of elasticy, and it looks like a cool little like puzzly platformer type game where you're actually sort of like going around and using, like, trying to manipulate different things and using the sticky, squidgy, sort of gravity defying aspects of your character to solve the puzzles in this platform. And at certain points, there's like multiplayer aspects where you can do things where, like, you know, one player is going over here to hit a button while another player opens the door, and yada. It's a whole thing. Looks super interesting. Then in addition to that, they announced they're doing a port for Nintendo of the, was it Planet Zoo or Jurassic? It was one of the
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic. Yes, you're right, because it had the dinosaurs. And that looked super cool. So the first project that I mentioned, that struggle game, is actually out of Frontier Foundry. So it's like they didn't develop it. They're the publisher of it that someone else developed. And they help, bring it to market as a publisher. And Will is actually working on that. I still think he's going to be doing stuff with Warhammer as well, but he is working on that, we hear. And the other project, which is again through that Frontier Foundry, where they're the publisher helping people bring their games to market, is this very weird, neat looking FPS game that is part tactical FPS game, part strategy, real-time strategy game. And it's this weird thing where, like, it's an FPS, but you're playing the game in like 29-second or 30-second game loops. And like after the end of that 30 seconds, you kind of Groundhog Day back to where you started, but you're trying to affect the past and the future, and you're in a competition with another. It's very Inception. It's trippy as all fuck. It looks super, super cool. The graphics look super sexy. The gameplay seems to be very, very sort of thoughtful. It seems like a cross of, Call of Duty or Halo with, chess. It seems crazy, crazy complex. So yeah, that looks cool. Let me get everybody's thoughts on that. Let's start with Roy.
I like the idea of that time loop game. I mean, it's sort of like super hot. Have a new dimension in the gameplay that people hadn't thought of before. That it just gives a new way to play it. So I'll be checking that one out.
Right on, Arson.
I was very interested by the time loop game as well. I'm curious about whether or not Frontier producing it means that the engine, I don't know, that's tinfoil hat stuff, but I digress. Just curiosities and shooter mechanics. The thing that I latched on the most, though, was the port of Jurassic World to the Switch, which, for those that don't know, Jurassic World, being a Frontier game, is programmed in the Cobra engine that Elite is in. So that means that the Elite engine is now working on yet another very popular console. And I am excited about that.
Very cool. Tweaked.
Yeah, the time loop game looks kind of interesting. I might check that one out. Struggle, it looks like it could be well done and everything. Definitely not my cup of tea, but I always want Frontier to succeed. Any success they have bodes well for Elite Dangerous, in my opinion. As far as those games, though, I mean, I'll be honest, 99% of my game time is Elite Dangerous. I almost never play anything but, so.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. I'm playing Elite, but I absolutely, I think you could not look at it a better way than what you're saying is, hey, that's cool. And if that's your cup of tea, go play that. And I hope that they do really well with that and make tons of money, because that puts them in a better position to give me more of what I want, which is better development into Elite. So yeah, right on. Mattius.
Yeah, the possibility that after ever making other games and broadening the horizons and making themselves bigger, that's a good thing, and it makes the game, the core game at least, better for everything else. Like I've said to other people before, Planet Coaster and Jurassic World, Planet Zoo, they all add eventually or possibly to Elite Dangerous. So the experience that people do within other parts of the company that could bleed on into Elite Dangerous. I'm not actually familiar with both of the games that you've actually mentioned, so that I've seen the pictures on the Twitter. Yeah, okay, it looks a bit like Super Meat Boy. Not my thing, but yeah, if it's your thing, then fair enough. And then the Inception type game, yeah, whatever. I've not really experienced that, but if that's your thing, then great. But if it benefits Frontier, then yeah, I'm all for that.
Absolutely. All right. So now that brings us to the next thing, which is the streams for the week. Now, this week, they did a stream on Monday, which was the Super Cruise news in episode number 3, and it was Stephen and Paul Crowther. And then on Thursday, they did the stargazing tour with the SPVFA. Specifically, they had, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the other gentleman, but he seemed very cool. But they had Orange Phoenix and another gentleman from SPVFA that were sort of showing Stephen how to do photograph compositions and like how to do high level SPVFA style photography, how they set up their shots and different things that they do and whatnot. I had some thoughts on the stream, so I want to hit them up real quick. With regard to the Super Cruise news, number one, they did it on the new channel, which was, the Elite Dangerous channel. That's where all the stuff is going to be from now on. Number two, there were a lot of people that were sort of heckling and hassling Steven with regard to his proficiency in the game for any little thing that he did. And I want to point out a couple of things. Number one, I don't care how good you are at playing the game. You try playing the game while you're reading chat, while you're having to be a professional PR person. Like, it's not like me. I can read the chat and look at it and go, oh, yeah, that's dumb. Fuck off. He has to be like, mind your P's and Q's and don't do anything, whatever, and hold back your feelings when somebody asks you the same stupid question for the 15th time and you want to tell him to fuck off. He's got to be like Mr. On. He's Mr. Corporate. He's Mr. Whatever. And in addition to that, I'm just going to say it. Okay, he's not the best at the game. So what? All right? We play this game for 60 hours a week because we're crazy and we love the game and we're just all in, okay? He is a guy whose job is to handle the community, deal with issues, get ready for like promotional stuff that's going on, deal with content creators who can get cranky at times. I was an asshole last week. I got cranky over a dumb thing and he had to deal with that. He has to deal with information coming from the devs. Oh, there's a setback on this. Ooh, we got extra on that, and that's super exciting. But that means you're going to have to scrap the program of what you had and do the whole new thing because we've got this awesome thing that we can do. And he's juggling all of it. He's juggling forums. He's juggling whatever. And that man, whether you want to, pick at the fact that, he's not as good at landing or bounty hunting or scanning planets or whatever, that man is fighting for you as a player in this game. He is representing your interest to the company, and that's what he has to be good at. As far as, is he the best at PvP, or is he the best at this, or is he the best buckyballer, or is he the best SRV, whatever. I think look at what he's trying to do and look at what the team is trying to do to bring us right now. And they're basically on a lot of situations, like I said in the live stream or that they did last week. I said this on the Super Friendos. He's trying to juggle hand grenades and he's out there on his own, and they're at home. They're not in the setup where they normally would be, where he's in the studio and he's got, 2 or 3 other team members and a dev or two within 3 feet of him that can like whisper or give him a signal or point to a thing or whatever. He's doing the best that he can. And I think people need to give him some slack and get off that real petty shit of every time there's the slightest mistake, just getting on it. But whatever. Now, with regard to let's see, there was a whole question about the bubble for Colonia. What is this? I can't even read my writing there with regard to that, so I'm going to leave that issue. He was talking about one of the, he said one of the new ranks. He didn't say the new rank exobiologist. He said one of the new ranks exobiologists. We are getting at least 2 new ranks, if not 3. My money, again, for the record, is on soldier, which would be FPS pew pew as a rank, and or exogeologist. I think those are coming. He was asked the question, are you going to need Horizons to play Odyssey? And he didn't answer. Now, the fact that he didn't answer, I find super, super interesting, because I can tell you the way it's set up right now, absolutely you would need Horizons to play Odyssey, because Odyssey is all doing stuff planet side so far from the stuff that we've seen, and Horizons you need to even land on any planet, atmospheric or non-atmospheric. Now, I think that Odyssey, Horizons has, if you have Horizons, you have on your ship a Type 1 module that says atmospheric approach module. I think that if you have Horizons, you're going to have that still. If you have Odyssey, you're going to have a Type 2 or a 1A or a Generation 2, or I don't know, some variation of that, which is going to be an atmospheric approach module. The answer to that question as it stands now, are you going to need Horizons to play Odyssey, is 100% absolutely guaranteed. Yes, you would, because you can't do shit planet side if you can't land on the planet. The only reason why he would not be able to give an answer there, as far as I'm concerned, is if Horizons is about to get rolled into the general game come Odyssey release, as we've speculated that it will be previously on this show and also on the Super Friendos, in which case that sort of, do I need to buy Horizons? That answer turns into a no, because Horizons is part of base game come Odyssey drop. That's a theory. That's the only thing I can think of why he wouldn't be able to answer that. Either that or they haven't decided, but they're trying to think about how they're going to play that out. Super interesting. And then my super cheeky thing about, somebody asked, I did a thing on my conversation with Al. This was originally a concept that was thought up by Psyche, and she put it in one of her videos. I really liked it, became a convert, and I've been spreading it around. Are you going to unlock the Earth's moon so that we can have the real Neil Armstrong moment, i.e., standing on our moon, staring up at our Earth floating in the night sky, our planet of birth up in the sky above us? And he was grinning like a cat and said, cannot confirm, and changed the subject. It was super, super, super suspect. It was super, super shady. Who knows? I could be wrong. It's a crazy, crazy little theory, but man, you go look at that video. You look at that Super Cruise News episode 3, and you tell me that you didn't see something there. All right, guys, your thoughts on all of this, starting with Tweaked.
Yeah, I would mirror your thoughts with, let's, as a community, try to be a little more respectful to Steven. He is working hard to try to get things that we are wanting to the devs. And let's be honest, Elite Dangerous is his day job right now. That's what he does for a living. So I'm willing to bet when he goes home and cracks open a cold one and sits back to relax, he may not fire up Elite Dangerous like we do. When I relax, I want to turn on my game and dive into this universe and disappear for a few hours. I'm willing to bet he does something totally different to get his mind right.
Yeah, he might play the guitar or hang out or play board games or play an entirely different video game just to blow off steam. But the fact of the matter is, the main thing to keep in mind is this. He could do, everybody's working from home right now. He's at home. This guy could be playing 15 hours of Elite Dangerous a day and getting really, really good and neglecting the fuck out of the community. Is that what you want him to do? I don't think so. All right. Arson, Your thoughts?
I just gotta throw this in there. On top of everything that you listed out there, Kai, he's also his own stream tech.
Yeah.
And I can
Yep.
tell you from experience, it is not it's not something that you can do lightly. It takes a lot of focus, and just trying to make sure that I'm ready to queue stuff. I've smacked into a whole bunch of asteroids just flying around here.
Mhm.
You know, it's one of those things. It's not easy.
100%.
Would I like super badass streamers on FD's team? Sure, but it's not realistic.
All right, Roy.
Just one small thing. You mentioned the comment about standing on the moon, and when you were talking to Al about that, he basically agreed that it had to be Neil Armstrong's first boots on the moon.
Yeah,
And
that was very comforting to hear him say that.
yeah, I took comfort in that, and also that was to me a tip that that's a pretty good theory.
Mattius, what do you think?
The thing with the moon is we should probably be expecting a massive base on the moon if there is in fact something coming that will allow us to be there. And with that, with space legs, etc., we should be able to sort of walk around the Neil Armstrong site, the Apollo landing site as a museum and explore that. In terms of Stephen Benedetti, I really like the guy. I think he's brilliant, and over again. And I'd sit and watch. In the past, I've watched elite live streams, and they just constantly get trouble. They constantly get criticism, and the game's dead, etc., etc. And I kind of feel sorry for them because he does it as a job, so he can't actually say particular things, or he can't actually do particular things. So I feel sorry for the dude because he seems like a really nice guy, and that's all really I've got to add on that.
Absolutely.
And he's a really good community manager on top of it, I think. So
I mean, he's absolutely doing a lot right now for us in the background, and I hope that people will give that the credit that it deserves. The Thursday stream was nothing super big. It was just they had the SPVFA. They did the whole thing where they were teaching Steven how to do photography stuff. And it was a good little stream. They had a couple of tech issues, they had whatever, but as we've said, this is the world we're all living with right now. People are, community managers are not the camera guys, they're not the tech guys. They're the guys that are supposed to manage communities. And yet they're doing the best they can with what they have and whatever. So moving on past that, we've got Roy stories. Roy, why don't you cue us up on this?
Yeah, so we've been featuring Commander Sakashiro, and before we dive into this, I just wanted to mention that we've been getting more folks putting their hand up and saying, hey, could you feature some of my stuff? So we're going to be looking at those and working those in. I think the plan is to, not exhaustively read everybody's whole series, but to give a feature and a flavor and give people a taste of it so that they could perhaps be enticed to go check out those stories and finish them on their own.
And so Roy is the guy that's in charge of that. He is who you direct your inquiries to, and he'll be looking into how much more we're going to do of YUNA, and then when we wrap up the YUNA arc, then who's going next and how long we're going to do of that. So for sure, write in and message to him. Did you have anything else, Roy, that you wanted to add before we queued it up?
Nope, let's go ahead. Let's jump into it.
Beautiful.
Welcome back to our reading of Inara author Commander Sakashiro's story, Unbound. We pick up the story in Part 3, The Customer.
Good afternoon, Mr. Owens.
Owens looked up from the paperwork on his desk. Sakashiro was leaning over the counter, resting her head on her elbows. Next to her, he saw her backpack and the small respirator that helped her cope with the moon's not yet quite terraformed atmosphere. "Hello, Mrs. Sakashiro," he said and smiled. "I've heard the good news already. Congratulations on acquiring your pilot's license."
Thank you, Mr. Owens.
She said politely.
But who told you?
Your friend Valberg was here this morning and spilled the beans. He said you passed your evaluation yesterday. I hope you've recovered from last night's party. Valberg sure looked a bit tired. SAKASHIRO laughed.
I got up late, but now I'm fine.
That's good to hear, said Owens, because today's quite busy. There's an anaconda parked on pad 6. Customer wants shield boosters and a mining lader installed.
I'll get started right away,
said SAKASHIRO and picked up her belongings from the countertop. On her way to the locker room, she spotted a man sitting in the lounge behind the large glass door on the other side of the reception area. She could see the back of his bald head, which appeared to be decorated with some sort of tattoo. When customers waited on the premises, it usually meant they were in a hurry and had no time to pay a visit to Coral City's large and somewhat famous entertainment district, which happened to be only a short walking distance away from Owen's shipyard. SAKASHIRO entered the small room near the end of the corridor and closed the door behind her. She pulled a smart pad out of her pocket and dropped it next to the backpack and the respirator on the bench in the center of the room. Turning around, she opened a locker that had a handwritten tag with her name on it. Inside there was a dark gray utility jumpsuit bearing the fancy orange logo of Owen's Shipyard on the back, and a smaller version of that same logo on the chest. SAKASHIRO changed into the jumpsuit and stored her jeans and shirt in the locker along with her backpack. She put the strap of the respirator around her neck, slipped the smart pad into the jumpsuit's pocket, and left the room. Back in the reception area, she noticed that the lounge was now empty. If you need help with that laser, call me, said Owens when she passed the counter. It's a Class A device, very expensive. We can't afford to scratch it.
I'll be extra careful,
she promised with a serious look on her face. Number 6 was one of the largest landing pads of the shipyard, and the anaconda needed every bit of it. SAKASHIRO gazed up at its hull while she walked between the hydraulic legs of the ship's massive landing gear. She pressed a button on the wall at the other end of the landing pad, and a large coiling door began to roll up. The room behind it was filled with various pieces of hardware, large and small, for internal use or installation on retractable hardpoints. Some of the devices in the room were so large that each of them could probably occupy the space of a small landing pad all by itself. SAKASHIRO used her smart pad's camera to locate the items that were meant for the anaconda outside. While she was reading the information on the touchscreen, she suddenly felt a hand on her shoulder. She screamed in surprise, turned around, stepped back, and almost lost her balance. Her smart pad dropped to the floor. Her eyes opened wide and stared at the man in front of her. He was very tall, much taller than her, and built like a tank. His head was bald and tattooed. SAKASHIRO recognized him as the man she had seen in the customer lounge a few minutes earlier. She had no idea how he had managed to sneak into the hardware room without her noticing.
What are you doing? You're not supposed to be in here,
she yelled at him. The man moved closer, bent down, picked up the smart pad, and held it up in front of her face. I think you lost something. She grabbed the pad from his hand, but he wouldn't let it go. Why so nervous, Yuna-chan? He said. The words made her blood freeze. She had heard them before. She moved backwards, shaking her head in disbelief. She wanted to scream, but her breathless whimper was almost inaudible.
No.
That's a hell of a place to stop that story. I guarantee you we'll be doing next week still YUNA because you can't end it there, man. All right. Good stuff, and I look forward to hearing more of the YUNA story and from the other commanders that have written in. Yeah, so that was really, really great stuff. And YUNA is in the chat right now, and I just want to point out that she said great voice acting. That is done by Roy and his, I think, teenage daughter. He's got a little girl, and that's Roy and his daughter acting those out. So that's
you guys need to call Audible and get some side jobs going. You guys are pretty good at that.
Hells yes. All right. So stay tuned for part 4 of the YUNA story next week. And I want to know what's the deal with that dude. I have a feeling he's one of them, the bad guys from, well, I don't know. We'll get to it later. All right. Next up, we're cutting some segments out because we are running way late. We're going to go with the Alec Turner. This was a short pre-record that I did with Alec earlier today about the upcoming race. So play it, Arson. Hello and welcome to another insert for Elite Week. This one with my man Alec Turner of the Buckyball Race Club, who's here to tell you about a little event that's kicking off soon called Real Men Racing LEDERHOSEN. Alec, welcome to the show.
Hey Kai, good to be back again.
Beautiful, beautiful. So tell me about this event, Alec.
Okay, so this is the last in our recent set of 4 races. I think there's nothing on the calendar after this one. We'll probably all do with the break anyway. This one is fun. This is unique. I don't think anyone's come up with this idea before. So this race is Real Men Racing LEDERHOSEN by Ashnak, and it starts tomorrow, actually, Saturday, and does its usual thing of running for a week until midnight next Sunday. The principle of this one is really interesting. So what you have to do, Bavariga, the system of Bavariga has run out of beer. And so we have to supply them with Conga Ale, Garacian Goose Beer, Wathulio Co Froth, HR 7221 Wheat, Kajigrian Filter Leeches. Christ knows what those have got to do with
For
beer.
filtering.
Oh yeah, of course, good one. And of course some buckyball beer mats from Rebuy Prospects.
Absolutely.
So you got to zip round and get, I think, 1 ton of each of those and bring them back to Bavariga. But the twist is this: you have to work out what time you think you can do it in. So let's suppose I reckon I can do that in 47 minutes. What you have to do is set off 47 minutes before the hour. So if I reckon I can do it in 47 minutes, I'm going to set off at 13 minutes past the hour. If I make it and I get back to Bavariga with all those supplies before the hour, then I get a time of 47 minutes. So it's the time from when you set off to the next whole hour, okay? If I go bust, if I go over the top, if it takes me 48 minutes, then I get an hour, and I'm trying to do the sums now, I get an hour and 47. So basically the knack of this race is cutting it fine. So working out almost to the second what you think your best run can be, and then hitting that on the mark. Really interesting stuff.
I love that aspect of you're bidding against yourself. So you can even, you can do great, but if it's one of those, what is it like from Top Gun, your ego is writing checks that your body can't cash.
Yeah, it's exactly that. The tagline, I like the tagline that Ashnak's come up with for this. It's, are you really as good as you think you are? And that is key.
I dig that. I very much dig that. Yeah, Ashnak has been doing work with he's been doing some serious work with turning the wheel. So I'm a big fan of Ashnak and big fan of the whole concept of this race, because there's multiple layers of sort of skill and also gamesmanship of really putting a fine point on it. If you're overly aggressive, you're going to get screwed. If you're overly conservative, you're going to get screwed. You have to find that sweet spot.
Yeah. It's also interesting. You've spoken about this a lot with buckyball races, that it's kind of about beating yourself first, your previous best time. And I imagine with this race, it'll be very easy to see the top time on the leaderboard. Let's suppose Shea Blackwood comes in and he does it in 41 minutes. I expect it'll be very tempting to set off at 19 minutes past and just try and beat that. But if you're not up to it, I think you have to recognize your own, not weaknesses, but you have to recognize where your limit is and hit that, I think.
You have to play to your skill. You're not, if you're Muggsy Bogues, you're going to play a very different game than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, just by virtue of the fact that you're 4 feet shorter. You have to work with what you got.
I tell you what, even if people don't take part in the race, they've got to take a look at the forum thread, because he's done it's great. The banner that he's done for it is just
it's
a work
beautiful.
of art. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
The write-up's great. And I love the classes. I'm not sure I'm even going to attempt to pronounce these classes, but there are 4 race classes for this, which is quite unusual. And they're like, Watschensans, wer steigen das Brutus Produkt, Schikeria, and Space Taxi. Oh, Space Taxi is cool, because you can even try and use your fleet carrier.
Yes. You gotta love all of that. And of course, the flag, the poster ship, the flagship on the poster is, of course, the venerable Hauler. I think could that be the Fat Bottom Girl? I don't know, but there's a man who races around in Lederhosen that I think very much approves of that ship.
Yeah, I've just been, in fact, just this afternoon, I was plugging the race in the Burpits Discord, and I did say if there's any crazy Germans out there, this might appeal. So I am hoping to provoke primetime casual into giving this a shot.
Beautiful.
There are even, I'm not going to give this away, you have to dig deep into a nested pile of spoilers on the forum thread, but there's even prizes for this. Very nice prizes they are too.
Nice. Very, very nice. Well, this is going to be a kick-ass time, and as we've said many, many times before, buckyball racing is a thing that is a time trial thing. So you can go, on a Wednesday at noon. You can go anytime you want. You don't have to line up next to anyone. You don't have to feel self-conscious. And in the end, here's what you do. On your very first thing, on your very first one, on this race in particular, don't even aim for a time. On your very first run, just call it your practice run. Don't aim for a time and just go. So if it's at 8 o'clock when you go, just go. And if it's like, okay, Matt, that took me 56 minutes. All right. Then do it again and try to get it in 55. And that's all you're doing. You're just shaving a little here, shaving a little there, getting a little bit better, having fun, learning skills, sharpening those skills, and also shooting the shit with the guys.
Yeah, I'll say one other thing, actually. There was a last-minute change in the rules. So the only thing about having to finish on the hour, it kind of meant, if like me, so I play at a pretty rigid time of day. I get up at the horrible hour of 5:30 in the morning, and I play till 7. So that being on the hour, it kind of only gives me maybe one shot at finishing at 7. So I only really get one shot at the race a day. So he's made it that you can finish on the half hour as well. So you're not so constrained about having to.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's good.
Beautiful.
Should be good.
All right. Well, Alec, we will have in the show notes the link to the thread for this. We'll have a link to, obviously, the Buckyball Racers website and Discord. Always a great time having you in, and I look forward to, I think maybe within the next week or two, I want to get you in for a talk, because I know there's a thing. You've been dealing with you had a birthday present that was a monitor, and there's been a whole saga about it, and you've done lots of research. I think it would be a nice little segment to have you in on a tech segment and talk to you about, not racing for a change, but talk to you about the world of monitors right now.
Well, that would be a good discussion. I'd like to get someone else in who maybe knows. I've learnt fast. I've learnt a lot in the last week, but there's a lot of really knowledgeable people out there. But it would be a great discussion, I think.
Well, I think especially right now with the new graphics cards coming up, there's a lot of people that are looking to update their rigs, and part of that is looking at the monitors. So yeah, we'll get you in to talk about that in the next week or two.
Okay, cool. I'd like that. Nice one.
All right. Well, thank you so much for dropping by, Alec, and a big salute to the real men out there who are racing in their Lederhosen. They're a little German boy. All right. Thanks, Alec.
Absolutely. Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Right on. So we're going to push back the community questions, the feedback from the 3 episodes that we did in the last week, because we're running super late on time. I'm going to ask you the community questions that I want you to respond to this week, and next week we're going to get to all of the feedback that we had, plus these 2 questions. Community question number 1. Your feedback on Souvarine's forum thread. What do you want with regard to further story? There's a link in the show notes right underneath that question. Community question number 2. What did you take from the WCCF interview with Luke Betterton and Chris Gregory? I also put, again, the show note link is in there. You should go read that interview. It is well cited, it is well sourced, it is well thoughtful, and it has clues to what's coming. That brings us right up to state of the game. My state of the game is in an amazing spot. I'm super excited for what's coming. There's a lot of questions to be answered, stuff to be worked out. I'm super excited for, a lot of stuff. Some that I can say, some that I can't say yet, but I'm super, super excited. and I kind of want to say that I feel like if people were to look into the two community questions that I just asked really deeply and think about what's to come, there's a lot of reason to be thoughtful and to be happy and to be excited, and that's pretty much all that. And the Dark Wheel is just kicking the hell out of everything, and I'm super proud and thankful for that. Arson, your thoughts on state of the game?
I'm content. I'm happy. I am enjoying myself, and the closer we get to the Odyssey release, the more excited I am for the potential of what's to come.
My head right now is just spinning on the thing from the WCCF article. It's like, what are the new SRVs? I want to know.
Yeah, I believe the exact phrasing was plenty of ways to get around an Odyssey, and I'm still hoping for a bike.
Yep. Roy.
So let's see. After last week, I'd been traveling prior to that, so I'm catching up on a lot of things. I was 6 weeks into a power play. I took care of that yesterday. Finally, going to be heading back out and do some more mining, both tritium and painite, and I'd never actually tried void opals, so I'm going to be looking forward to some of that.
Right on. Tweaked.
Yeah, my state of the game is Elite Dangerous has never been better, in my opinion. There is so much out there to do right now that you can find no way to ever be bored, in my opinion. And I implore, again, everybody, all you commanders out there, get your engineering done on your ships now, so that if there's dangerous places to fly to an Odyssey, you can survive it. And get your bank accounts up now, because in my opinion, we're going to be buying upgrades for our exosuits. We're going to be buying upgrades for our weapons, buying different weapons, things like that. So you're going to want your credit balance up there too. So lots of things to do.
Whoa. Tweak, did you roboted and stopped for me? Hello?
Yeah, I think we lost him momentarily there.
Uh-oh. All right, Mattius, your thoughts, state of the game.
Well, I'm currently heading to Sagittarius A. And in terms of the game and the future content of the game, I'm very much looking forward to going into the Fargoid sites, or motherships, as some people like to say, and see what's in those eggs exactly.
Right on. Well, that is a lot to keep in mind, and that's a lot to think about, and I'm ready for it. All right. I think that wraps it up. I'm going to go ahead and say, everyone, this week, Bill and Ted, episode 3 or whatever, Face the Music, is out. You can buy it on demand. So I'm going to remind you all, be excellent to each other. Arson. Well said, Arson. All right, Mattius.
Yeah, be excellent to each other, and be excellent to each other. Just enjoy the game.
Beautiful. Roy.
Stay safe, everyone. Have fun.
Arson again.
Cricket.
Tweaked.
Everybody, just keep your heads up. We will come through this COVID stuff and everything else that's going on in this crazy world of ours, and have some fun in Elite Dangerous.
Absolutely. Play us out, Arson. Let's go. Let's get drunk.
Actually, I'm following local security. I got my ship kit and my lasers colored. Got my ship skin and Top Gun glasses on. I'm the biggest killer, you're me. but you'll never see me, 'cause I play in solo. Viable, but so fast and deep, you'll be on your knees. Run, crossing through your veins will bring you down, will bring you down. Viable, but so fast and deep, you'll be on your knees. Run, crossing through your veins will bring you down, will bring you down. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. Whoa, 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 oh. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. Sailing into ACG, I got my radar filled with a tasty cargo. Flying in the open for a second or three and get my ass whipped like I'm playing escargot. Got enhanced speed and my hull so plated I could gargoyles solo, and that's a fact. I wish close in